45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We hit 1,000 new YouTube subscribers, and that was the deal. Once it got done, we were going to destroy the Carson Wentz poster. All right, Guidos, Purple Drinkers, this is for you.
Yes. Yes.
All right, now Perloff, here you go.
Carson is not crumbled.
Not going down.
Okay, ready? I'm going to go like Office Space and do it sort of with the other end of the bat.
Whoa, yeah. You just give it the rip?
Yeah, rip it. Maggie can't rip it.
I can't rip it.
All right, let's both of us try.
Okay, here, wait, you try.
This thing is tougher than the actual Carson Wentz.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome into the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff on this Tuesday. SEC Media Days, Perloff in full effect. They call it talking season, and it was Kirby Smart, the head coach of the Georgia football team, who was at the podium first today. Well, at the podium today. So, a lot going on with Georgia right now. Back-to-back national champions.
Yep.
Trying for a three-peat. Something that hasn't been done since the 1930s, college football.
Since my Minnesota Gophers did it last.
I knew you'd jump on their bandwagon. You're just almost 100 years too late, but that's all right. Now, here was Kirby on the three-peat and whether he's concerned about it when it comes to his football team.
We have not addressed that with them. We've certainly looked at some three-peat scenarios of teams like the Bulls and different sports teams that they might actually know about. No offense to the Minnesota 1935 team, but I don't know if it's going to resonate with my audience. So I don't care about the three-peat, the two-peat, or the one-peat. I care about complacency.
Right. I can understand that. And there's a reason why Georgia is not going to repeat and three-peat as national champions.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why is because no one's done it since the 1930s. If Saban couldn't do it, if Bear Bryant couldn't do it, if great Notre Dame teams in Nebraska and Miami and these teams we've talked about for years and years, they couldn't do it. Why do we think now that Georgia's going to be able to do it? Something is going to happen. It's going to get them tripped up. You okay there? Your
Somebody reset my microphone in a crazy way. But... yeah, but nothing's ever laid out like this for Georgia. This is going to be the easiest of their 3 years to get to the Final Four. Their schedule's a joke, and they're stacked. I mean, and I hate to say it, I know they lost Stetson Bennett, but they might have upgraded at quarterback with Carson Beck. I mean, he's obviously bigger, better arm. I feel like this is going to be an easier year than last year, and last year was pretty easy. Last year they were never even really – they were challenged by Ohio State. I think Ohio State, to me, is the only real threat out there. I don't know what's going to happen. Are you talking about tripping up in the Final Four? Do you think they don't make the Final Four? Because it seems so easy right now.
Listen, I think they're going to make the Final Four. I do not. Right. Yes, their schedule. Here's the non-conference: University of Tennessee, Martin, Ball State, UAB. It's not exactly murderer's row there. So of course they're also in the SEC East, which is obviously a little bit watered down compared to the SEC West. It would be nice there. There are good teams, but there might just be two top 20 teams that they face all year, and they're Georgia.
A bit watered down?
I'm just trying to be nice here.
A bit watered down with UAB?
No, I'm talking about the SEC East.
Okay. I thought you were talking about I think you said the out-of-schedule.
I'm trying to be kind to the Kentuckys and the Floridas and, Ole Miss and Tennessee. They have to play Tennessee. That's not nothing.
That's it. That's their whole – basically, they could just start game planning right now for that Tennessee game. That's their only threat on the schedule.
They almost lost to Mizzou last year, and that means at any time, if you lose focus at all, you could get tripped up. The other thing about Georgia, and this is, listen, they're an all-time great team, and this feels dynastic, but it can't be the three-peat. When you send 25 players over the last 2 years to the NFL, at some point that does catch up with you. It's caught up to Nick Saban. It's caught up to other great programs.
I've heard some analysts who follow this really closely saying their defense is probably more stacked this year than it has been.
Well, if you're talking about the 16 players who played 200-plus snaps last year and 12 of those are returning, I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, they have just All-Americans at every spot, and arguably they'll be better on offense. I think Carson Beck's going to blow up. Okay. I already nabbed him as a Heisman pick.
So here's the thing about Carson Beck, who, by the way, has not officially been named the starter. So you still have Brock Vandagriff out there, who is probably challenging for this. And then you also have Gunnar Stockton as well. But here's my thing about Carson Beck, and he could end up being a great quarterback. I don't know. He's looked good when he's gotten on the field. But if you just went by like the rankings or his projection, he should have outplayed Stetson Bennett. Like, that's the whole interesting thing about the Stetson Bennett story. That's what makes this so cool, is that Stetson Bennett defied the odds to become a two-time national champion and all the things he went through. If Carson Beck was like the second coming, he would have beaten out Stetson Bennett last year, wouldn't he?
Well, no, I mean, you can't bench Stetson Bennett after winning the title.
I think that most people in Georgia felt like it was wait for Stetson Bennett just to be running a, Mercedes dealership somewhere in Atlanta. And that's his ceiling.
First of all, everyone thought
not a second national title.
Everyone thought he was going to leave. But then when he didn't, you can't, there was no thought really of not playing Stetson Bennett once he came back, right?
Well, okay, but that's what I'm talking about. The projections on, if you want to just go by how many stars they were coming out of high school or whatever, of course Carson Beck would look like the much better quarterback. And yet last year, and for the last 2 years, it's been Bennett. Yeah,
I'm just telling you right now, I would expect big things out of Carson Beck. I think he's going to be great. And also, too, listen, look at that schedule. He'll be, if he can play past halftime and accumulate any stats, he's going to totally dominate there. I think he should be really good. The thing about it is, it doesn't matter at Georgia. Stetson Bennett didn't even do that much until the Final Four. Their defense is just going to destroy people, and whoever's a quarterback will have basically 10 games to warm up for the Final Four. Then you hope that Ohio State and Michigan have some injuries, and then they're fine. They're the biggest favorite I can remember. Last year, they were third in odds. This year, they're at plus 250, where Alabama's second at plus 600. Like, no one's even considering a close second here. It's just so easy for them. So I'm not saying they were definitely going to win it. I'm not going to do some crazy bet Georgia versus the field, but this is definitely an easiest path that they've faced out of their 3 years.
Well, but then you still have the mounting pressure. You do have a lot of guys who did exit the program. You have a new offensive coordinator this year. I mean, you just have a lot of things that have changed. You got some really key guys who are coming off of injuries. I'm not saying they aren't a stacked team. Obviously, they are, but not going to three-peat. Also,
the other thing is, I think a lot of the other big programs, Alabama, new quarterback, we don't even know who it is yet.
Yeah.
Tennessee lost Hendon Hooker. I mean, I think they'll be fine in that regard. LSU's probably not, as Brian Kelly said, they're probably not there. So I think your competition's down in the SEC this year because of turnover. And then Ohio State and Michigan are sitting there, but Michigan never wins in the Final Four. And then there's Ohio State has a new quarterback too. So I think, and there's USC there too. But I mean, does USC scare Georgia? Probably not. So I think that basically it's sort of like the Red Sea has parted to get the first three-peat since my Minnesota Gophers in 1938.
Right. Way back in the late 30s. Yeah.
I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. Things always happen. You're right. They almost did lose to Missouri. Sort of almost lost to Missouri. Anything could happen, but I think they get in the Final Four with one loss anyway, which makes no sense because they don't have anyone on their schedule. But once they're in the Final Four, they have obviously as good a chance as anyone, if not better.
Well, that would be the thing. Because this schedule is the weakest of every SEC team's schedule, if you do lose, that's devastating.
Devastating, but Ohio State, who did Ohio State beat last year? They beat Notre Dame, and they got in with one loss, and they were fine. I think the committee does not have the discipline to keep a one-loss Georgia out of there. I mean, I guess it depends who they lose to, but can't you see the committee just picking Georgia?
Yes, but at the same time, I'm not talking about just getting to the Final Four. We're talking about getting a three-peat here.
Yeah,
and once you get in, then that's also going to be your stiffest competition, of course. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Then the other part is, do you even want a three-peat? We'll take the Georgia fans out of this. Of course you guys do. It's been awesome. It's been incredible days, not without its challenges, obviously, and some negative headlines as well for Georgia. But as far as football success, you guys are sitting on easy street right now. But for the rest of college football fans, is that what you want? A third Georgia national champion? Is that good for the sport?
I think I personally think dynasties are good for the sport because there's a lot of parity in the sense that everyone has a chance. But imagine a three-peat and how big a deal Georgia would become. I mean, it's funny. Like, they're the two-time defending champion, and I think they're still get less attention than Alabama. Alabama still feels like the sizzle team, and maybe USC. Yeah, imagine it's like when Michael Jordan won 3 in a row. To me, that made the whole NBA more exciting. So I get parity. It's really fun. But wouldn't it be awesome to have this dynasty that everyone can go for?
Well, I think the dynasty can be fun. I already think they have a huge target on their back. But it's more fun when you do actually have, like, a rival that pushes you. Yeah. And if it's, and are we going to get a team that's actually going to push them?
I'm sure. I mean, listen.
Tennessee, maybe.
TCU 62-7 is not going to be every game. Ohio State absolutely should have beaten them last year. So if they do win a three-peat, it's going to be a narrow three-peat. It's not going to be. It's not going to be.
Now we're doing degrees of the three-peat.
I'm just saying, like, it's not going to be so outrageous that people are going to be like, well, I don't like college football anymore because it's Georgia and everybody else. I think they're going to have to fight really hard. So would you prefer just total parity, a new champion every year, like kind of the NBA is now?
I mean, listen, I'm not going to take away anything that Georgia did. The back-to-back, it was amazing. They basically sent half their team to your Philadelphia Eagles, so we'll see what goes on with that. Plenty of guys in the NFL now to keep rooting for. Definitely Georgia deserves it. Three-peat, I don't see it happening. Whether it's good for the sport or not, probably neutral. It probably doesn't make a huge difference, but I think people are going to start, it's just when you get such a juggernaut like that, I don't know, sometimes it can turn people off.
My bigger problem is imbalanced scheduling in college football.
That's going to change.
I think the 12 team will help that, and that's why I really wouldn't mind a mega conference around the SEC. I think it is ridiculous that Georgia has a schedule. I understand what happened with Oklahoma and Texas, and they had to change their schedule because Oklahoma is joining the SEC. But still, it's just stupid. I thought last year Alabama was one of the top 4 teams in the country. They lost on the road at LSU, and they lost on the road at Tennessee, and they had the defending Heisman champion. College football is completely imbalanced on schedule. Georgia has a break now. Do you think? Here's the question: will the conferences or the divisions ever even up in the SEC? I think it's all interesting. I think it's all really good for the sport.
Now, there were some other questions that Kirby Smart had to answer to SEC Media Days today. In the next couple of days, it's all going on in Nashville right now. And that was about the rash of dangerous accidents. And, of course, we know about the fatal accident that happened the day of the parade. What did he have to say about these dangerous traffic incidents and players who are speeding?
I'm also smart enough, Pat, to understand and know that 18 to 20-year-olds is when this happens. When it happened to me as a student athlete, that's when speeding happens. What we want to do is take that out and make it safe and not have high speeds. If somebody's going to get a speeding ticket, it should not be a super speeder.
All right, so there have been 11 traffic-related moving violations involving Georgia football players and their cars since January 15th. And since January 15th. And that's when there was the fatal accident with Devin Willock and the former football staff member, Chandler LaCroix, who were both killed in the car wreck that allegedly Jalen Carter was racing them, and they were drag racing at the time. And LaCroix had a blood alcohol level 0.197, where the legal limit in Georgia is 0.08. Perloff, when he says, well, it's kind of like teenagers being teenagers, it doesn't sound like they have a plan here to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Yeah,
and also, it doesn't seem like there's a huge public outcry about this either. So I think Kirby Smart's responding to that. I mean, he's won 2 national titles. I'm sure he's, a god down there right now. He can do anything he wants. So I don't think he's feeling any pressure for this. And honestly, I've not seen a ton of public pressure on Georgia to clean this up. Maybe there is. I'm not down there. I have no idea. But it feels like we're Georgia. We can kind of do anything we want right now. And he did say, like, listen, we don't want super speeders. It's okay if you get caught 10 miles over the speed limit. Because let's face it, most of us speed at some point. But that I don't think he's hitting the right tone with I used to speed at that age.
Yeah, it kind of feels like if I was presiding over a program where 2 people lost their life, others were hurt. I mean, now you have people who are suing the school, suing Jalen Carter because of these devastating injuries suffered during that accident on January 15th. Then you get just a week ago, July 11th, you had a guy, a freshman, who was ticketed going 88 miles per hour in a 55. And it's like, this needs to be the number one thing in your program right now. And how are you going to clean this up? Right? Like, I would come to media days, I'd have a plan. I'd have a 10-point plan. How is this going to happen? And are we going to have either a zero tolerance policy or a very close to zero tolerance policy on speeding, especially super speeders?
Yeah, I mean,
it's got to be number one.
Then again, what happens if a great player gets caught super speeding? Then do you enact that zero tolerance policy?
Well, what are we doing here? Are you trying to save lives? Or are you trying and actually impact what's going on in your program? Or...
Well, I understand what you're saying, but that's the reality is that's not going to happen because winning football is probably the number one priority.
I watched Jalen Carter get drafted this year. I understand. He was involved in that accident that caused the life of 2 people, and he was still taken. And by all accounts, people said, well, this is a great pick because he's going to the Philadelphia Eagles that has this really strong locker room where he's going to have a lot of mentors and things like that. But, I mean...
One thing I would warn against, don't think this will have, not that you're saying this, will have an impact on the field. We did last week the greatest college football teams the last 30 years. There were a lot. First of all, if you looked at the list, it was all teams that had character problems. The 99 Florida State team with Peter Warwick getting caught shoplifting. But then the 95 Nebraska team that we put number 1 had nothing but legal troubles. Much, much, much more serious legal troubles than this. And they were juggernaut. They rolled over everybody. So I'd be shocked if this had any impact on the field. I don't think they're going to have a zero tolerance policy.
No, they're definitely not going to. Yeah. At least it doesn't appear that they are. But to say it's not going to have an impact, it should already have had an impact.
But it won't on the field, though.
It might not on the field, but if you don't clean this up, you don't want to have this be a constant thing that's following your organization.
Absolutely.
It's already gotten the worst it could be. 2 young people die.
I know, and people keep getting hurt. People keep getting caught. I understand that, but the way college football works, I don't know, the arrests and the wins, they don't go against each other. You can have a program with lots of legal problems and still just dominate.
Okay, but we just talked about Georgia's dominance. And how far past the competition they are and what a big favorite they are to win this year. If there was ever a program that could actually afford to take they all could, by the way, but I'm just saying this for the sake of our argument. If there was ever a program that could afford to really have a zero tolerance policy, isn't it the one who's at the top of the heap? Isn't it the one, not the fledgling program who feels like they have to say yes to everything? Isn't it the one that's already stacked with talent, has 5 stars and 4 stars, 3 players deep on the depth chart? Isn't this the exact program that could send a message?
You could. The other thing, too, though, I think you have to balance that. These players have rights. They're getting a lot of NIL money right now. So I don't think, basically, they face legal, each individual person has the legal repercussions of the speeding. I'm not sure that all of a sudden Georgia can have a different policy than every other program. There's a lot of players making huge NIL money, so Georgia's just going to cut them for speeding. Then what happened to that player's rights?
Well, if you're a super speeder, I think there's a code of conduct that happens in every university and on every football team. And all you have to do is say if you're caught in super speeder, which I believe is 20 miles an hour over the speed limit, or 25.
Are you telling me you should get kicked out of college for that? Or
I'm talking about the team. I'm talking about discipline on the team.
Okay.
Yeah, wouldn't the team also have a code of conduct?
I don't know about that. But listen, if I was a junior in college and I got caught for nothing would have happened to me at my college.
Okay, but we're talking about the football team, which does get certain privileges, but also is held perhaps to a bit of a higher standard than a regular student. We understand that, right?
Yeah, but I don't know, so their rights get taken away?
I don't know if their rights get taken away. They're also breaking a law. So aren't you forfeiting?
Right, but for that same broken law, Like other kids are not going to get kicked out of Georgia for going 75 in a 45-mile-an-hour zone.
Okay, but we don't know, because if there's a fatality or something that happens in that accident, it would obviously cause more harm, more damage. Who knows? But Kirby Smart could tell his team, if you are super speeder, then you're going to face a suspension, face some kind of consequences. It sounds like he's choosing not to.
Well, by the way, we don't know for sure what they're doing internally. He might have a tougher policy. He didn't say it there. He sort of said, it sounded like boys will be boys.
Yeah, which is like not what you really want to hear from leaders at this time. Again, it's already gotten as bad as it can be. You can't even say, what would happen if somebody died? 2 people already did.
Right, but I wouldn't say like you have a zero tolerance policy and just start kicking people off the team. That's really tricky. If there
was any team that could enact it, if there was a team that could say, listen, it is a privilege to play here, and there's nothing that says you have to be on this football team if you don't follow the rules. And if say it's 1 ticket, say it's 2, if it's multiple, whatever that is, I don't think that's beyond Kirby Smart's rights to be able to say that.
Just because Georgia's really good, you can have a different policy than every other college?
No, every school can. It's up to their discretion.
Right, but you're basically saying, oh, they're so good, they can afford to sort of kick players off for super speeding.
I'm saying they clearly have a problem here.
Right.
Would you not agree that 11 citations since January is in 2 people dead is a problem?
Right, but I can't say, okay, I'm Kirby Smart. I can't get up there and say, well, the next person who gets caught speeding is going to get kicked off the team.
Okay, well,
I'm sure they have a series of penalties in place here. I can't imagine Kirby Smart's doing nothing about this, right? He said we're trying to eliminate super speeders.
Right.
There's got to be something
going on. How are they doing?
On.
How does it seem like they're doing? When a kid just got pulled over on July 11th going 88 in a 55. So how's he doing with that?
Honestly.
Not great, right? I mean, I'm just going with the facts here. It just seems like they could be doing better. This is clearly something that's shadowing their program. You and I will agree to disagree.
I agree. I'm just saying, like, all of a sudden, okay, so would you kick this kid off the team?
If I had a policy in place, I'm not saying it has to be zero tolerance, but it seems like it's got to be something, right? Because the message isn't getting through if a freshman just went 88 and a 55 last week.
So, and you sure that guy didn't get penalized and stuff for him?
I'm reading an article on ESPN. I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. What do you think? Three-peat for Georgia and the challenges that are facing them this season. Coming up, the great debate series continues. It is our Michael Jordan versus LeBron James week. Now, yesterday, we did athleticism. We focused in on the two and their athleticism. Today, we're going to focus on winning. You got Michael Jordan, 6 finals, 6 championships. LeBron James, 10 finals, 4 championships. On balance, who has the more impressive resume? We'll get into that. We'll deep dive into that next. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. The great sports debate continues today. We are doing Michael Jordan versus LeBron James week.
Yep.
And although I think the title of today's category is a little confusing, I think people will get the point once we explain it.
All right, let's hit it.
The Great Debate Series. Jordan versus LeBron.
Okay, so today's topic we're calling winning. So yesterday we did athleticism and debated LeBron versus Jordan and who's more athletic. If you missed that, it was robust. Always download the podcast. Today we talk about winning, Perloff. And you're going to have people who are listening to us, either youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio with the Weekdays, or maybe you're in your car and you're like, well, obviously Jordan has more titles.
Yeah, that's why I did no more prep beyond just double checking that it was 6.
Okay.
So that's really the. What's the next topic? Are we talking about?
I just want to make sure, the 6 team's okay.
You can turn the music down. See, this is over, I think.
Yeah, not so fast. I did tons of research, and it might turn one person on my side. So as far as LeBron is concerned, you have to think about this on aggregate, if you will, right? Like the whole composite of one person's career.
Oh my God!
Where Jordan went to 6 finals and won 6 titles. Yes, he's
right.
6 for 6. LeBron went to 10 finals.
Yep.
Now he only won 4 championships to LeBron's 6. But some of the teams that he dragged to finals were pretty uninspiring. And the fact that he was able to get them all the way to the finals, I think, means something. May I continue?
Please.
We go through the LeBron and Jordan playoff resume, okay? So we're talking about when it really becomes winning time, not just the finals, but the playoffs as a whole. Michael Jordan, 179 starts in the playoffs. LeBron, 282 starts. Now, obviously, LeBron played in an era where it's best of 7 in all of your playoff series. So he has 103 more playoff starts. MJ, 119 wins to 60 losses. LeBron, 182 wins. That's 63 more than Jordan, but 100 losses. So 40 more losses than Jordan in the playoffs. As far as success in terms of scoring or whatever metrics in the postseason, 39 double-doubles for Michael Jordan, 139 for LeBron James. He's got 100 more double-doubles. Michael Jordan had 2 triple-doubles in his playoff career. LeBron has 28 triple-doubles, so 26 more triple-doubles in the playoffs. You're just talking about a much bigger body of work here for LeBron as far as the postseason is concerned and finals games. And I think that has to be discussed when we talk about winning and success in both of these players.
Does it really?
It does.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron's got the longevity. He's played forever. And first of all, there's, as you mentioned, there are more playoff games. Jordan, I think his finest moments are in the postseason where LeBron's been he's been awesome. Don't get me wrong. He's the second best player of all time. But I think he's been a little more up and down. And here's the one thing I really disagree with you. Getting to the finals out of the crappy Eastern Conference, especially that Cleveland team, they wouldn't have even made the second round of the Western Conference playoffs. But they, the following year, I think Dwight Howard led the Magic to this slaughter in the finals, too. I'm just saying the East was weak, and we've seen that in other cases, too. Miami, Miami did beat that Boston team, but I think the best teams have been in the West for the better part of LeBron's era.
I think you're right about that, but listen, those Boston teams, when Kevin Garnett got there, obviously were very good.
They were great.
The Detroit teams early in LeBron's career, the one that won a title and then went back to the finals and lost a title, that was not stars on that team, but that was a great team. That was like the definition of a team.
Yeah, but I don't think LeBron was really ready to have playoffs. He was young then. He was, 21 when that mini dynasty crumbled. So I think if you look at Jordan, once Jordan figured out how to win in the playoffs, it was on. It was over. There's nobody who could even touch him.
Sure, I understand. You're facing Isaiah Thomas. You're facing Larry Bird. I understand that Jordan may have had a little bit of a harder path than some of those, but LeBron just has so much more volume. There could have been so many more times where he got tripped up, and you really can't blame the fact that he was drafted. Let's talk about the early Cleveland years. Before he decided to team up in Miami or go to L.A., you're talking about you can't help where you're drafted, and you can't help who else you're playing in the playoffs. I mean, those Bulls teams with Joakim Noah and Derrick Rose were nothing to sneeze at. And let's not forget those Indiana teams were not bad. So it's not like he went through nobody.
It's not like he was going through Hall of Fame row. Those Indiana teams. What team was that? The Bulls team with Derrick Rose. 1 year Derrick Rose was good.
Well, Joakim Noah, Tom Thibodeau.
Oh, my God.
Those are scrappy teams, Perloff.
Scrappy teams. It's compared to, look at the teams that Jordan beat. He had multiple Hall of Famers on all of them. On every single
on the ones that were the multiple, some of those he couldn't beat them in the beginning, which made it very hard. I mean,
the Lakers was obviously full of Hall of Famers. The Blazers actually.
Yeah, but remember James Worthy was hurt.
I know, but they would have
heard from Michael Thompson.
That Blazers team was loaded. Obviously, Phoenix had Barkley and Marley and everybody. They were a stacked team. You go through. I mean, to me, Jordan beat a bunch of iconic teams that probably would have won a bunch of titles if Jordan wasn't there.
Okay, but I mean, LeBron had to go up against other iconic teams. San Antonio Spurs in the finals who were iconic, and also the Warriors who were iconic teams.
Okay, but honestly, just forget all those numbers.
Yeah.
Honest opinion here: who is a better playoff performer, Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
I mean, Michael was the better closer. He always was, right? That was his thing. And I give Jordan tons of credit for not only being a closer on the offensive end, but also being a closer on the defensive end, right? He would be the guy who was always in the middle of everything on the defensive side in all of those big-time finals games. But I think that LeBron's this is why I think it's not just a total slam dunk, no pun intended, slam shut case here when you look at all the winning that LeBron has done, all the finals appearances. I mean, we talked about this with Tom Brady and Joe Montana before Brady ended up kind of blowing him out of the water. Brady had gone to more Super Bowls but had lost. Listen, also Michael Jordan lost in more first rounds than LeBron ever has. Okay, I'm just saying.
I mean, that was young Michael. Michael, by the way, did have the most points in any finals when he just completely dominated a great Suns team. I mean, it's just a different thing. I totally understand LeBron has had a ton of success, but there's just rarely been a playoffs where you've gone and say LeBron's just going to steamroll everybody. He got a little lucky, down 3-1 to Cleveland. down 3-1 to the Warriors when he was with Cleveland.
Comeback.
Yeah, Curry had just missed the series before with a busted up knee, and then Draymond got injured.
But Draymond is his own worst enemy. That's not.
But they were clearly the second best team in the NBA that year, and they happened to win because of outside circumstances. The Miami ones, he had to join the best team in the world Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and I mean, they eked out.
Yeah.
At least one of those finals was like ridiculously close. The Ray Allen shot year. I mean, where Jordan never even made a Game 7. It's like LeBron was in for the battle. And then there was the bubble year, too, which, are we even counting?
Well, I mean, I think we should count it, but I agree. It's very different, that bubble title, no doubt.
He just had to fight so hard in all the playoffs because he just wasn't better than, his teams were not better than everybody, where Jordan was just like, no one's going to even come close to me. And also, too, I think that's where Jordan's mental edge helped in those series as well. Where LeBron, I think people think they can beat LeBron's teams.
Maybe 2 more points. One, LeBron, I mean, Eric Spoelstra now is known maybe as one of the best coaches and maybe should get credit then, but this was a young coach, and that's the best coach LeBron has played for. I mean, this is not Michael Jordan, who had Phil Jackson, one of the greatest coaches of all time, stewarding these 6 championships. LeBron had multiple different coaches of varying different aptitudes, if you will. He also, listen, the reasons why Jordan went to go play baseball are obviously personal and about his father. I'm not taking anything away from that. But while Jordan did take a big break in the middle of his career, LeBron was still going to finals. A year after year after year after year, the toll that takes on your body and the fact that he could keep coming back and doing it, I feel like has to count in this debate.
I mean, you're making excuses.
No, I'm talking about reasons.
You just said he didn't have good enough coaches, and he had to fight through, going all the way through when Jordan
succeeding in spite of bad coaching at times. Not bad coaching, but you know what I mean.
Well, it just sounds like, listen, Michael Jordan had all the points and the titles. It sounds like LeBron has all the excuses, which is actually consistent with the LeBron brand. So, I mean, come on, that's the best you're going to do. Like, LeBron didn't have good enough coaches.
Well, Jordan definitely had one of the greatest coaches of all time. That has to help.
Yeah, and it sure helped Phil Jackson that he had Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan.
Of course.
But honestly, I just think that there's just no doubt Michael Jordan is probably the second best winner in the history of the game, Bill Russell being number 1. I don't know if LeBron is even in my top 3 or 4.
855-212-4CBS.
Yeah, because you have also great winners like Magic and Bird, and LeBron's in that mix, but he's it was basically Russell and Jordan, right? Those are the two famous step up their game in the finals guys, where LeBron had mixed results through the years.
If it was just about titles, though, if we're talking about winning and it was just about titles, then we would all say unanimously that Bill Russell is the greatest player of all time. We do not say that.
Yeah, which gives me pause. He might be the most underrated player of all time.
Probably. May he rest in peace. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. You're welcome to weigh in. RPC, excuse. Listen, they're not excuses. They're reasons.
You just said he had bad coaching. That sounds so much like an excuse.
He got to all those finals in spite of, I don't say bad coaching. But
David Blatt.
It's not Phil Jackson coaching.
Yeah. No, I think
he's winner as an assistant.
The thing is, LeBron chose a lot of these coaches, and Jordan, I think, probably had a huge role in getting Phil Jackson to be the head coach. And Jordan, they both got many coaches fired, or 2. Doug Collins got fired because of Jordan. Anyway, so it is interesting. LeBron's bad coaches probably 50% of the time is his fault.
Well, I don't know. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227.
You should be blaming LeBron, the GM. That is probably.
We're not talking about that.
Yeah, because that's why I think the greatest excuse. If LeBron was a better GM, he might have 6 titles as well.
I mean, if Jordan wasn't just kvetching about Jerry Krause the whole time, maybe he'd have 7 titles.
Well, also Jordan was also an awful GM. He made some terrible decisions. He's like, you got to bring in this older player. Remember, he brought in Walter Davis, former North Carolina. Yeah. Neither of them are good GMs. So we
found their fatal flaws.
Yeah.
855-212-4CBS. If you want to watch the show, come on in. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio is where we are. You can also download the absolutely free, crystal clear Odyssey app, where you can get our show anytime you want. Also, SiriusXM channel 158. Don't forget to download the podcast if you missed anything wherever you get your podcasts. All right, coming up next. Ooh, guys, I got an email completely out of the blue that everyone is going to be interested in.
Nice.
This is really fun. Popped into my inbox this morning. Tell you about that right after this CBS Sports Update with Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle motorcycle, RV, and boat insurance. Visit Progressive.com. The Milwaukee Brewers have surged into the top spot in the NL Central after taking 5 of 6 from the Reds, bridging the All-Star break. They've won 4 straight after a weekend sweep and take that winning streak to Philadelphia tonight. Manager Craig Counsell said they did everything they needed to in Cincinnati.
We did our job, and I think you come into in a road series and you sweep it. You've had a heck of a series. So, we got 3 games left with them soon, but it's a big series for us to just take a great start to the second half.
The Reds are hosting the Giants, who won 5 in a row. They were tied at 2 when last night's game was suspended in the 8th. The Dodgers a game and a half up, but the Giants go for their 8th win in 9 games tonight in Baltimore. The Orioles didn't lose any ground on the Rays with last night's loss because Tampa Bay fell to Texas. They remain a game up in the AL East despite back-to-back losses. And the Pirates have signed Paul Skeens, the first overall pick in the most recent draft. He gets a bonus of just over $9 million. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Looking for CBS Sports Radio online? Your favorite hosts and the best sports content and entertainment are available 24/7 on social media and YouTube, and in the palm of your hand with the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the Armed Forces, DoD, veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. So we have to pick the Defensive Player of the Week. We got baseball to choose from. It was All-Star Week, so I don't. But I have a guess. Can I take a baseball guess?
Sure.
I think it's Kyle Tucker of the Astros, who had a game-winning diving catch the other day.
It is not him, but it was close. It was on my list of
Oh, that
guys.
made the list?
Yes, it did.
So it's baseball.
So it is baseball,
yes.
Oh, there's no
I see Ellie De La Cruz with a 95-mile-an-hour throw.
That is correct. Ellie De La Cruz, it was a 97.9-mile-an-hour throw, which was actually the hardest infield assist ever in the StatCast era.
Did he get a hit last night? He's been on a little bit of a slump.
Yeah, he has been in a slump. I don't know if he did last night, but I know before last night it was like 0 for 12 or something like that.
They're also calling up the other guy. There's another guy for the
Strand. Yeah.
They're calling up another prospect for the Reds.
Perloff's team.
I know.
That throw was the well, no, they're not anymore.
No, that's it.
Yeah, because they stink right now.
Oh,
but that throw from third to first, that is the single craziest throw I've seen in the history of baseball. That thing looked like it was taken out of a jet propeller. Why is he playing infield? He's 6'6". It's so insane.
He'll probably use that arm in left field, but he's super athletic.
It's like they're sort of like, would it be cool if we took this power forward and played him at shortstop and third base? It looks so odd there. But I think I'm back on my Phillies now because the Reds have been disappointing since the All-Star break.
They started games on Friday. It's Tuesday.
I think actually, I don't know if they started. They won last night, but they've definitely been slumping hard.
Man, Perloff is the definition of bandwagon. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We were talking about our great debate series, LeBron versus Michael Jordan. We're taking a different aspect of their rivalry and dissecting it every day. Yesterday we did athleticism. Today we're talking about winning, trying to make the case that LeBron having a larger postseason resume, more trips to the finals. It's, I'm going to say 2 fewer titles than Jordan. It's not like he's got, 0 titles.
Wow.
He's got 4 to Jordan's 6, and LeBron's also not done yet. I know Stu is hoping there's another title rattling around there somewhere.
Holding my breath.
Let's go to the phone. They were the Western Conference Finals. They didn't win a game, but they got there. 855-212-4227. Our pal Adrian is in Maryland. Adrian, how are you, sir?
Maggie, I love you. But Perloff, I can't believe you're letting her get away with this. She's going longevity. The guys played for 19 years or coming up on 20 years.
21.
You guys should have went. You should have went from started career to Jordan's end of Jordan's career. And then another fact, if Jordan never decided to get bored of basketball, he would have had 8. And you can't say the Rockets would have beat those two Bulls teams 94 and 95.
I know, but Adrian, we got to go. I don't know if he was bored off of basketball or he was dealing with the trauma, the death of his father. But, I mean, he did leave the game at the peak of his powers, right? And LeBron never did. LeBron kept going to finals and kept going back to back to back to back. I mean, he's played.
What's LeBron going to go to? What's he going to leave for? Jordan had his father die.
Right.
He had that. So that was hanging over his head. And he decided to come back, and then they won 3 in a row after that. You can't say they wouldn't have won 8.
Okay, but Adrian, they might have. But I'm also saying LeBron went to 10 finals. Adrian, thank you so much for the call, pal. Good to hear from you. 10 finals.
Yeah, but are people really that impressed by that?
Yes.
I'm just curious.
Yes.
10-5?
I think they are, yeah.
I can't imagine, like, in the NBA, there's such a disparity between the two conferences every year. Like, being in the finals. Like, this year's Heat, does anybody think they were the second-best team in the NBA this year?
How impressive was it that they made it to the finals, though?
I think history will judge. They probably would have gotten just destroyed in the Western Conference.
Okay, but
because the East is way off right now.
But you
that's
can
how
say
people...
that about 20 years in the East. Like, you have to play who's
right. That's
in
how
front
LeBron made 10 finals, because
Perloff,
the East was garbage.
Your Philadelphia Eagles had one of the easiest schedules last year. They go to the Super Bowl and lose. Was it still not an accomplishment for them to get to the Super Bowl? No one's saying, well, you got to play all these crapola teams all year.
It was, but we're talking about the greatest player of all time, LeBron James and Michael Jordan. We're not talking about an impressive run by a surprise Eagles team last year. We're talking about the greatest ever. I think, honestly, like, being in all those finals, you could easily use that against him, too. The guy lost 6 finals.
Oh, man, I can't look at it that way. How about Bo, who's in Myrtle Beach? Hey, Bo.
Hey, how we doing, Maggie, Perloff?
We're doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Yeah, hey, winningest, sure, that's LeBron by the numbers, but biggest winner, I mean, if you're a coach, you're down by a couple baskets and you got a minute left, I'm putting that ball in Jordan's hands. I think it was you, Maggie, that mentioned, well, he had all these all-stars around him. How many of those were all-stars because of Jordan? I mean, he created all those ingredients.
You think Scottie Pippen wouldn't have been an all-star without Michael Jordan?
I don't know, but I know.
Oh, come on.
I think you might be overrating Scottie Pippen a little, Maggie.
He's on the 75 greatest players of all time.
So is James Harden.
I'm not overrating him. That means everyone's overrating him.
But you got one guy looking around the country to make the right ingredients so he can get a ring, and you got one guy staying at home in Chicago building teams. You know, hell, even Kobe, when he played him, said he was trying to, get pointers from Jordan. I mean, it's, the guy is just a hell of a mentor. I've met him a couple times. He's just electric individual.
But who, Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
I thought he was mean to everybody. Explain that he was sort of a mentor when you met him?
No, not when I met him. Jesus, I can't play basketball worth anything. But, no, I met him a couple times in Memphis. He was doing a lot of charity golf tournaments back in the day. And
how much did he win off you, Bo?
Yeah, that's a better question.
He's a lot better at that, too, but he's got a lot more time than I. I kill bugs for a living, man. I can't get out on the golf course every day.
Listen, you're out there with Jordan. Perloff, unless I'm wrong, you've never met Jordan, right?
Jordan? God, I've never seen Michael Jordan in person in my entire life.
Oh, I've seen him in person. I paid to watch him play.
No, I've seen him play. I'm sorry, I've seen him play.
Yeah.
But never, like, at an event. Like, he doesn't do stuff like that.
Yeah, I've never met him, Bo. So you've met him. We haven't. So we're wondering, what was the aura like?
Just electric. I mean, if you've ever been in a room when somebody's walked in like a politician, I met Bill Clinton one time. Something in the room happens, and it's
Charisma.
just like, oh Jesus.
But Bo, I'm going to tell you not to go tit for tat name dropping. Thank you so much for the phone call. Good chatting with you. Not to go tit for tat name dropping, but I have been in the room with LeBron James several times, and he does have that charisma.
Oh yeah,
without a doubt.
Right. I think LeBron has, when he walks in a room, it's
like a planet.
Yeah.
People just start revolving around him.
But I
guess he'd be the sun.
Right. Except it's not quite as pronounced, I think, as Jordan, because Jordan was, for most of his life, was the unquestioned GOAT. And then Maggie Gray and LeBron James are the only two people in America questioning that. But the other thing, too, Jordan it's really interesting to hear Bo say that. I've never heard him described as a nice guy. You always think
generally he doesn't get that.
I've always seen him. You see all these videos where he goes to a camp and some kid's like, "I'm going to take you to a shooting contest," and he elbows him in the face and hits 10 jumpers in a row. He's so famously competitive.
Yeah.
I never think of him like that, although he might be.
See you guys on the phones. Going to continue on with our great debate series. Want you to get in on this in terms of being the better winner, the bigger, the better resume, if you will. LeBron versus Jordan. Wait till you see what we have tomorrow for you. But we continue on with winning. Also, coming up, I will tell you about that fun email I got. I'm going to tell you, the Weedos are going to love this. Also, the most angry people in sports right now, but do they have a right to be? Get to all that. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Oh, boy. There's a lot of jelly left. I thought she was making progress. There's a lot of jelly left.
See, I told you.
She needed to hear.
Fake lifelines that you were giving me.
I think this is going to end up worse than the peanut butter challenge, and I was sick for 4 days.
Oh, no.
I'm like, my hands are shaking.
No, this is going...
This is all the
This
sugar.
is going terribly awry. Do you want to take a small break, and then maybe we assess your vitals?
I kind of want to just drink a little water and maybe stand up.
Why don't we
maybe just start running out of the office.
Honestly.
Well,
Real talk here.
That was just
Real
a
talk
really
here.
big bite there.
Can we get some makeup? You look green.
Please don't tell me I need makeup.
That's mean.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome into the show on this very, very busy Tuesday. Glad to have you, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, and you. There is no more angry group of athletes right now than running backs, Perloff. They are big mad. And I can understand why. Well, every other position, it feels like on the football field, the contracts keep getting higher and bigger and bigger. Of course, none bigger than quarterbacks. Running backs are not seeing that same kind of increase. And as we're watching the franchise tag deadline pass yesterday, just at this time, no deal for Saquon Barkley, no deal for Josh Jacobs. Tony Pollard's going to play on the tag for the Dallas Cowboys. It's just, it's hard to see when running backs are going to be able to grab the leverage back here and really start to, do anything with these grievances. I think they're just SOL, as they say.
Well, yeah, except we will see week one is Saquon's clearly not going to go to camp. Will he be holding out into the season? And same with Josh Jacobs. So I think that's, listen, they can make a lot of noise here. Obviously, you're right. I don't think they can do anything about it. But I think a holdout, especially with Saquon and the Giants, who could actually, he's the one guy who could afford to hold out because he's made a lot of money because he was the number 2 overall pick. I think that's going to make a lot of noise. And, I mean, I hate to say that there's not going to be a running back union, but they can organize here a little bit and say, like, let's start holding out all over the place. And then at least that's something. It's not totally nothing.
I think that is such a pipe dream. It is so impossible that you would be able to get all those guys to agree on this and get on the same page. And I don't see a solution. We're going to talk to Tiki Barber later on in the show. He's going to try to tell us, I guess, how the running backs are feeling. Now, Austin Eckler was on with our pal Zach Gelb yesterday, and he is upset, and he's just one of the guys who is ticked off.
From a player's aspect, we have no control of that. I have no control. So really who we want answers from is the ownership. Like, why are you doing this? What's the reasoning? Like, give us, like, you aren't interviewing them about it. Like, how many owners have you talked to about this? 0. They ain't going to say anything either because, I don't know, maybe they're just testing us. Like, hey, let's see what happens. But, you poke the bear, and, you're going to make us have to do something.
Empty threat.
Well, hold out.
Okay, but who does that hurt? They don't get paid.
Well, I think it'll hurt the Raiders and the Giants here.
It's going to hurt the Raiders and the Giants, but if it doesn't, which, by the way, what are the real expectations for either of those teams this year? It's not like you got both of those teams on the cusp of winning a Super Bowl. So,
but the Giants team win total is probably 8.59. I mean, I think it's pretty. They're on a fine line to the playoffs or not the playoffs. That would be a big deal.
Okay, and I feel like I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
And one thing that I always get really surprised by is that when players make a stand like this, if they hold out or whatever, you know who fans get angry at? They don't get angry at the owner. They get angry at the player. They start calling him selfish. Hey, I'd love to make $10 million a year. And while that, I never understood why. I'm like, why are the fans mad at the player? They should be mad at ownership. But ownership is, unless you're Jerry Jones or someone who's really out in front of a microphone, for the most part, ownership is behind a wall. They're more of, sitting up there in their suite. And they're not accessible. Like, you can tweet to Saquon Barkley and tell him how ticked off you are.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think that would go down like this. Because, first of all, we don't have many holdouts anymore because of the new salary structure. But I think there'd be more sympathy with these guys than normal. You're 100% right. The rule is for some reason, fans always side with ownership. It's been that way for 100 years.
I don't know why.
But I feel like in this case, I think they would have a lot of sympathy for the running backs because underneath it, I think savvy NFL fans, I think most NFL fans know this is also a brutal position. You take a lot of wear and tear. I don't think they would fault any running back for trying to get his own. And also, I think the fans obviously realize what you just said. Like, a running back holding out isn't going to cost us the Super Bowl anyway. It's not 1993 with Emmitt Smith.
Exactly.
So I think the reality of the way the sport is played now is fans know this. If a star wide, if Tyreek Hill held out in Miami, I think fans would be really upset because they'd be like, "Oh, we need that guy to win." Saquon's a little different because he's half of the Giants' offense. I think the Giants fans are going to side with Saquon. I think he will hold out. I'll bet you a month from now, I'll bet you the average fan at camp is going to be Team Saquon.
I don't see it just because if I learned anything over this time, it's that fans do not usually side with the player, especially because their contracts are public. And you see all this money. And, like, how do you think all these owners got all this money besides the ones that, just inherited it from their parents? From being savvy business people. And if the market dictates that you don't have to pay running backs these huge numbers, then why would you buck the trend, or why would you overpay or bid against yourself and pay more than you have to? Like, that's not how rich people get rich, by giving the money away. Definitely not.
So you think these owners are sitting there in their ivory towers, as you described it, and they're working out the salary cap details of all these teams? Like, they have... No way. First of all, I don't even think the GMs are working at the salary caps. Like this, first of all, it's a GM call. Okay. They're trying to put together the puzzle of how do I make my roster. This isn't a matter because the owners are going to end up spending the same amount of money regardless of. It's just a question about how they divvy up the pie. So it's not like a rich versus poor owner versus player.
Same for the GMs then. Okay. So,
yeah, but the GMs are so desperate to win, you can't blame them either. They're going to get fired if they don't put together the best roster. So this has nothing to do with we want to pay them. I think you agreed with me on this. It's not like we don't want to pay running backs. It's just we have a very small salary cap. We got to figure out where to put it, and we need to put it towards passing-oriented positions. So both sides are almost faultless here.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, who are the running backs? Like, why? I understand why they're mad because they're not making as much money, but shaking your fist to the cloud. There's not a solution here. You are what the market dictates you are. That's how all of us make our money.
Yeah. Here's what I think could happen, and this is not this year's thing.
Yeah.
I think if you're a young, talented athlete, you don't play running back. So you're going to see less talented athletes go to running back. They'll go to defensive positions.
Okay. Can I just pause? Can I pause you on that for 1 second?
Yeah.
We're talking about guys who make it in the professional ranks, or like the 0.0001% of guys.
Right, but they're all 5-star recruits. Like these guys, like Bijan Robinson, for example, could have played any position he wanted in high school. He was a superstar. I'm sure he played quarterback too.
Okay, but are you going to make it to the NFL as a quarterback? So, like, what are you in this for? Now you can make a lot of money in college, so maybe you could switch positions and still make a lot of money. But to get to the pros is so hard anyway. To do it at, say, like, well, I'm not going to be running back. I'm going to switch and be corner. Like, you might not have the skill set.
Yeah, you might not, but I think you're going to try and play something else.
Like, if you're Deuce Vaughn, how else are you making it to the NFL?
Well, I mean... Yeah, Deuce Vaughn's a short guy, definitely.
He's maybe an outlier.
He was a 5th-round pick. But here's the thing.
Can you play another sport?
Play another sport,
definitely. Do you get into it thinking I'm definitely going pro? I think a lot of guys, you get into it and then you're good and all of a sudden you're on this track, and then if you're lucky enough and you're dedicated enough, then you're a pro. You're going to start with you're 12? Thinking about this?
Oh my, now the industry is set like that. Oh, my God. Like, there's trainers. There's obviously quarterback trainers starting at age 8 now. But I do think that players are going to be moved off this position, like really talented. You're not going to have a 5-star talent, a kid who can do anything, like a Bijan Robinson. He's not going to come up playing running back anymore because he's going to know it doesn't get paid. This happened with quarterbacks, with African-American quarterbacks forever. They're like, well, you know what? I could be a good college guy, but they're not going to draft me at this position because the league is ridiculous.
Yeah,
racist. So they moved, so they moved off a quarterback at a certain point. I do think that long-term. The other thing, I've said this before, I think some young running back in college is going to sue to get in the NFL to start the clock earlier. The NFL does not want that.
No, they don't. But now running backs in college, if you are really good, now you can actually make some money. But this is very recent development, obviously. Yeah,
that's a good point. Can NIL protect the NFL from like a young Leonard Fournette saying, hey, I want to go pro now? And he easily could have.
Yeah.
Here's just a quick question. I mean, I don't know if this is possible, but we heard Eckler tell Zach Gelb, you poked the bear, and now we're going to have to figure something out. Like, could you see the 32 starting running backs or more, 45, 50 starting running backs in the NFL just being like, we're just not going to play week 1.
They have a union. I mean, the union is supposed to be representing them. And the union has to fight
for every player in every position. So maybe they just said, listen, we're just not going to play, right? Jonathan Taylor, I have my money already. I'm just not going to play. Austin Eckler, I'm not playing. All of them, I'm not playing.
Do you honestly think that could happen? No, I'm going to give that somewhere between when hell freezes over and a shot in hell.
But see, I understand the idea of like some of these guys.
Do you want to know why? I'm sorry, let me flesh that out. The reason why I'm giving that between a shot in hell and when hell freezes over is because those 32 guys, say the starting running backs, their backups will still play. Like, you're always good. That's the thing about where management always has the hammer over labor, is because there's always someone who's going to come up and take your job. Now, that person might not be better, but if we're talking about non-quarterbacks here, I'm sorry. People are still going to tune in. They're still going to watch. I don't think the running backs have leverage.
Jonathan Taylor, I think, does, by the way, because everybody would want that guy. So I think you're going to see some noise. I don't think it's going to have any effect. I think it's going to be symbolic, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we're dealing with multiple running back holdouts in the next few years. I mean, why not?
Well, now if you're a Saquon or if you're Josh Jacobs, you got two options here. You can either play for the $10 million or you can sit out and maybe you save your body for one more year, but you just missed out on $10 million. What do you think the next contract's going to be?
And we already saw with Le'Veon and Melvin Gordon. They tried to hold out and try to get. Now, Le'Veon ended up getting a big deal, but like that's the end of it. That was the last because he faltered in New York. So no other team's going to like, hey, Saquon, you sat out, saved your body, come in, we'll give you a big deal. These guys aren't going to get a big deal anywhere else. So there's no point in saving their body. Just make as much money as you can when you can make it.
Also, you have to keep accruing your years in the NFL to count towards like when you retire and getting health care and all that stuff. You guys don't want to sit out.
And this is kind of boring. I don't want to get into like CBA talk, but like could the NFLPA like negotiate different ways to do contracts for running backs? You get drafted as a running back, it only counts, you can only have a 3-year deal. Like the normal 4 years and 5th year option stuff doesn't work for it. Can you
Don't
renegotiate?
You feel like you're opening up a real can of worms here?
Yes, but like, it's the only position that's really being impacted.
Well, I mean, how about the quarterback salaries that keep going up and up and up and up and up? What do you think Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert are going to get now that Jalen Hurts has signed his massive deal and Lamar signed his massive deal?
And people have talked about this for years, about quarterbacks having their own salary cap for the most part, and then having the salary cap for the rest of the team be something else. That's been floated out there. But I think for the running backs, we've had this conversation every year for the past decade, and nothing has changed, and nothing's going to change unless something significant happens.
By the way, I think if Saquon holds out that Week 1 game, it's the 8:20 Sunday night CBS game against the Cowboys, and then he'd cost himself $500,000. And again, I think that would be a loud statement by Saquon. And then just come back for Week 2, and he'd be fine, accrue his time. One more thing, too. Joe Burrow can make all the money in the world. He's going to be the most underpaid player. The quarterbacks don't even make enough because they're the only position that touches the ball every time. They're worth all the money. If anything, they're underpaid. Like, if they were in the open market, how much would they get? It'd be insane.
Okay, but you could say the same thing for the entire draft. Like, if everyone was on the open market, would they be able to get more? Because they slotted the salaries in by where you get drafted. So the whole thing is a market repression.
No, that's not a market repression. That's just because the money, those people are getting the rookies are getting their market suppressed, but the veterans get all that money in the back end. That money's it's a reallocation. It's going to the veterans instead of the rookies. If there was just an open market, you could pay anything you wanted. Joe Burrow would get $100 million a year, right? I mean, he'd be like
Mahomes,
Lionel Messi.
Allen, right.
And now because the salary cap, he's only getting $50 million. So I don't think you can say the quarterbacks are eating up too much. If anything, they're a bargain. Mahomes is the biggest bargain in the NFL, I would think.
Yeah, but if the running backs are trying to get a bigger slice of the pie, who's taking up the biggest slice?
But
the quarterbacks. So they're trying to get more of a slice of a pie. So I don't know what to tell you. Take it from the people who are making the most. Yes, I understand what you're saying, that they might be, quarterbacks are even undervalued, but the running backs are saying we're the most undervalued.
Well, that's a ridiculous argument because obviously the quarterbacks are the most undervalued.
Right, but you get what running backs are saying, yes?
They're not saying we're undervalued. I guess they are, but it's so different.
They're definitely saying they're undervalued. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. I do want to sneak in here because we have got some phone calls about our great debate series, LeBron versus Michael Jordan. Yesterday we did athleticism. Today we're doing winning resume, the whole thing, entire playoffs and finals resumes. where I'm making a case that the fact that LeBron has more finals appearances, more playoff games, technically more success, if you will, on the whole, that should count. Perloff is saying 6 finals, 6
more
titles.
More success on the whole.
I'm talking about more trips to the finals should equal more success on the whole, no?
No. Definitely championships is success on the whole. It's in my opinion. I guess it's a matter of opinion. But so you would take 4 titles and 10 you would take the 4 championships and 10 finals trips over 6 straight?
I think there's a case there about who has the better resume for sure because of how many finals you went to and got to, and in some cases dragged your team to, where
you can admit that I have you on this one thing, and then you can get me on passing or something down the road, Maggie.
Quickly, let's go to Mike, who's in Myrtle Beach. Mike, what's up, sir?
I am calling because Maggie, you're completely nullifying the fact that Phil Jackson came as a coach to the Bulls just like Spoelstra did, except Spoelstra laid an egg when it came to Dallas, and Jordan just kept it moving. I mean, he's got to be the greatest when you're talking about winning and success.
Oh, Mike, sorry. You're talking about before when I said one of the things, and thank you for the call, that Jordan had one of the all-time great coaches in Phil Jackson at the helm, where LeBron's best coach is probably Spoelstra, and that was the beginning of Spoelstra's career. It's not even the Spoelstra we know now. LeBron didn't have the type of great coaching that Michael Jordan did, and that was, so he's making it to all these finals. I'm not going to say in spite of the coaching, but not with a team being shepherded by this all-time great coach.
Well, I mean, it was the beginning of Phil Jackson's career, too. That was his first job with Jordan.
Yeah, I guess that would have been, he was an assistant before that, right?
I don't know if there's any real difference there. And Spoelstra was still pretty good back then.
No, I think Spoelstra was
arguably better.
But that was, and you talk about walking into a tough situation for Spoelstra.
Yeah.
You got Pat Riley right there, the shadow of Riley, and you had now LeBron, Wade, and Bosh all together.
That is poor guy. I don't know how he possibly managed with the ultimate dream team.
I'm talking about pressure, but Dan is in Erie. Dan, what's up?
So, Maggie and Perloff, couple things. One, Jordan did it on both sides of the floor. 10-time scoring champ, 1-time defensive player, didn't flop his way to the finals. And I would say 2 things. One, if you had a gun to your head and you had to pick one player to save your life to win the game, 10 times out of 10 you're betting on Jordan. And the second thing is, LeBron didn't even win it with the Dream Team. He's got a bronze medal.
Yeah, but talk to Larry Brown about that. Dan, LeBron wasn't starting any of those games. For some reason, Larry Brown was starting Richard Jefferson, and I was at that Olympics in Athens. That was not LeBron's fault. He was at the end of the bench with Carmelo Anthony for some who knows reason. That whole thing was jacked up.
Wow. Wait, I'm tallying how many excuses I'm hearing for LeBron not winning a bronze medal.
Talk to Tim Duncan about that bronze medal.
That bronze medal is definitely not something LeBron. Can you imagine Michael Jordan with a bronze medal, what he would do with that? He'd have a whole separate documentary on why they lost the Olympics.
No, but real talk, LeBron didn't even start any of those games. He was at the end of the bench.
Whatever.
I'm serious, though. It was baffling. Man, taking me back to that time.
Do you agree with that guy said you conveniently...
The gun to your head about save your life?
We don't like gun to your head.
Water gun to your head.
But if you needed, if say you were betting $100,000 on a game, how many, and you had to win this game.
And is it one shot for your life?
No, it's one game. It's a game 7, even though Jordan never had game 7s. But if it was a game 7, prime Jordan or prime LeBron.
Yeah. Who are my teammates?
Doesn't matter.
Probably taking Jordan. 855-212-4CBS.
Cut that. Clip that.
855-212-4227.
And by the way, if you want to take LeBron, I will bet that against you. I'll even take Jordan out of retirement right
No.
now.
You don't want to say that the Wizards years existed. I watched those years when I was in D.C. Coming up, we're going to get a little more credibility to our debate series. Jack McCallum is an award-winning author, wrote many books on the NBA, including about the Dream Team, 7 Seconds or Less. He wrote about, oh my gosh, just so many award-winning books. Also, longtime senior writer for Sports Illustrated. He will weigh in our Jordan versus LeBron. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, you want to watch the show, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. We're on our amazing CBS Sports Radio affiliates. And the free Odyssey app. Download it today. We're back in a minute.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie, I'm looking at some old lists, including one from our upcoming guest, Jack McCallum, of course, NBA longtime writer, Sports Illustrated writer. He ranked players in 2016. It's amazing how much things have changed, because 2016, LeBron was not number 2 on all these lists, but it's now you look at any list and LeBron's number 2. Back then, Jack had LeBron number 5, but that makes sense. Remember, he was never the surefire 2 until, really, to me, that Cleveland title.
That's when LeBron himself said, this is when I've passed Jordan. Like, when coming back from 3-1 down to the Warriors, LeBron himself said that's when he believes he became the greatest player of all time. But let's welcome in Jack McCallum. Of course, award-winning author, has written the book Golden Days about West Lakers. He's written Unfinished Business about the Boston Celtics, about Syracuse, of course, 7 Seconds or Less, about the Phoenix Suns, about the Dream Team. Jack, I could go on and on and on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine, guys. How are you all?
You know, we have to call you in every time we do one of these historical debates because we appreciate...
Because I'm old?
Because we respect your opinion, Jack.
That's all right.
So we're doing Jordan versus LeBron this week, and we're taking different aspects of their careers and kind of doing a deep dive each day. Yesterday, we talked about their athleticism and debated that. Today, we're talking about winning resumes. So, of course, Jordan has more titles. LeBron has more trips to the finals, more playoff games overall, so more success in terms of just pure volume. When you talk about winning with LeBron and Jordan, what comes to your mind?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is that anyone to whom you ask this question, if they're honest, is going to come into it with some sort of I'm not going to use the word bias, but preconceived notion. You have to understand, as you certainly do, Maggie, that my, covering at Sports Illustrated coincided pretty much with Michael's golden years. I mean, I started covering the league exactly the same year that Michael came in. I went a little bit longer than Michael. And LeBron, I really, was coming in as I was bowing out, and I'll never forget, I did the first cover story on LeBron, and I remember sitting in a room with him. I'll get to answer your question in a minute, and we're sitting there, and Walter Yost, the great Sports Illustrated photographer, is setting up his, banner lighting and all this stuff to take LeBron's photo, and we were informed that we had 10 minutes for the interview and 5 minutes for the photo. And Walter used to spend, 2 hours photographing Michael. So it, really, really two different eras. And so I came in with, I'm more of a Michael guy. And in answer to your question, in a one-word answer, which is complicated, that is the side I would come down on, the Michael side, as being superior for a variety of reasons, which I can go into.
Well, Jack, start with, for example, LeBron made to 10 finals. I was arguing with Maggie that, yes, while that's obviously impressive, in the NBA, the conferences might be out of whack, and I'm not blown away by LeBron's 10 final appearances.
Well, you said the key word with LeBron, I mean, is volume. And I think the one really hard aspect to judge on these guys is the level of competition. I was looking at a couple analyses, and somebody would say, well, Michael played during the year of expansion teams. Charlotte came in, Miami came in. I'm thinking quickly, Orlando came in. Well, LeBron, didn't have that. On the other hand, when I watched the Jordan documentary that everybody in the world was watching during the lockdown, one thing that really struck me was what kind of limited court space Jordan was playing on. I mean, the game was so physical, and the three-point shooting was so much more absent from the game that, it was just so much more of a limited court where Michael had to do his thing. That doesn't mean LeBron wouldn't have been successful back then. It doesn't mean that Michael wouldn't be successful in an open court. I'm just saying I come down on the side of Jordan having to play under more of a constrained and physical environment than LeBron.
Jack McCallum is our guest, is award-winning writer, author, former Sports Illustrated writer. We're talking about our LeBron versus Jordan debate. Yesterday, athleticism. Today, winning. Tomorrow, Jack will give you a little sneak preview. We're going to talk about being a teammate and your character. Now, I know that you are closer to Jordan than you are to LeBron, but as far as Jordan, the teammate for which we've heard, and the character of which we've heard, he could be, the fiercest competitor of all, and where would you come down on that side of things?
Well, Michael was a total pain in the ass. I mean, that's an interesting question, and I'm going to throw Kobe in there just for a second, because the three of them to me represent, kind of not three sides of the coin because there's only two, but three different aspects of this. And Michael, to me, kind of comes out in the middle. And obviously, LeBron is a much more caring person. He doesn't, to a large extent, hang his teammates out to dry. Michael used to, use the phrase, he almost didn't know he was doing it, my supporting cast. That came out. I don't even think Michael saw it as an insult. He just saw it as, yeah, hey, man, that's the way it is. Kobe, more extreme than either of them, didn't care, the late, great Cobster, didn't care too much about anybody's feelings. So to the extent that is important, I certainly give the edge to LeBron. However, Michael was able eventually to make his guys, to make everybody be one of the guys. I mean, you had to fall in line. He was going to, slap you around, sometimes literally, sometimes figuratively. But eventually he was going to be able to assemble a team that would play for him. So LeBron was probably a much more nicer guy to play for. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But Michael eventually would have, I think was an okay combination of being both a taskmaster and someone that you wanted to be with him, because if there was a hard road to hoe, Michael was going to hoe that better than anybody who ever lived, in my opinion.
Talking to best-selling NBA author Jack McCallum. Jack, what about supporting cast? That's been brought up this week for us a lot, too. Obviously, Jordan had Pippen. LeBron's had various supporting casts. If you had to say who had a sort of a better team around him throughout the years.
And coaches.
Yeah, and coaches as well.
I mean, that's a tough one. Can you keep track of LeBron's coaches?
No, we couldn't.
No, I can't, without a book. And Michael will always go hand in hand with Phil, just as Magic and Kareem will go hand in hand with Pat Riley. Larry Bird had a couple coaches, but basically it was K.C. Jones. So for a more stable environment, and you'd have to say an advantage, you'd probably have to say that LeBron had a tougher road to hoe. But did Scottie Pippen become Scottie because of Jordan? I mean, I always thought that Scottie Pippen sort of stood alone in NBA history as being like a complimentary superstar. That's very hard to do. The second best player on your team in every category, perhaps on the ball defense, he was as good or better than Michael. But that's very hard to do. But did he do that because of Michael? Did Dennis Rodman get into the Hall of Fame as primarily a rebounder because he played with Jordan? The other factor there being that LeBron's shifting cast of characters and shifting coaches that he had were the result of himself.
We said as a GM, LeBron falls very short, although Jordan might too. If he didn't battle with Jerry Krause, he might have 7 titles.
Yeah, exactly. They both kind of fall short in that aspect, but it was kind of LeBron's choice to do that. That's sort of why he had this kind of both sides of the menu thing to his coaching and teammates. That was LeBron's own doing. So that, I guess, is a little bit of a wash. But Pippen, Rodman, that's a pretty strong 1-2. You have to think a little more quickly for LeBron, with the exception of D. Wade and Bosh. I mean, in D. Wade, he probably had the best of the quote supporting cast. I guess you could argue him and Pippen, but it would be a good argument.
Jack, can't tell you how much we appreciate this. Thanks for taking some time for us today. Jack McCallum, the award-winning and best-selling author, lending a little his expertise to our Jordan versus LeBron debate. Thank you, Jack.
Okay, see you guys.
Talk to you soon. Jack McCallum.
Jack, nailed one thing. This is such a generational debate in the sense that you and I hopefully will be in this business long enough where some kids could be like, well, I have Wembanyama 1, I have LeBron 2, and Jordan 3.
Yeah, I got Tyrese Maxey 1.
Listen. I mean, just my peak NBA watching, my glory days of NBA watching were the 90s. I can't imagine. That does affect you. I'm sorry.
It definitely does. By the way, we had Scott Williams yesterday, Jack McCallum today. Can I get can we get Anthony Davis tomorrow or something? Is Darvin Ham available?
Get someone with it. Actually, I don't know, Anthony Davis, you never know what he's going to say. Let's get who's like the LeBron guy?
Can I get Savannah tomorrow or somebody on my side? 855-212-4CBS. Yes.
Rich Ball. He'd be good.
Somebody. Okay. Coming up, we will see you guys on the phones. We're going to get to your phone calls and also get back into this running back situation because running backs aren't happy. So what are they going to do about it? We'll get to that. Tiki Barber, Giants all-time leading rusher, is going to join us in moments after this CBS Sports Update with Rich Ackerman.
Sports Flash.
Now, good teams don't stay down long after losses and know how to rally. The Dodgers certainly did that last night when they continued their series in Baltimore this evening after halting the Orioles' 8-game winning streak. The NL West leaders bounced back from Sunday's loss and rallied after falling behind early on Chris Taylor's grand slam.
That was a good team win for us. Rodriguez, I thought he came out, he was amped up for this one and just kind of grinded him down and, got him out of there and then got to the pen.
The Orioles remain a game behind the first-place Rays, who lost once again in Texas, and they'll come back with Taj Bradley tonight. The rookie starts against All-Star Nathan Eovaldi. The Brewers take a 4-game winning streak to Philadelphia with the Reds 2 games back. They will complete the suspended game from last night shortly against the Giants, who came in with 5 straight wins. The Guardians picked up a game on the Twins in the AL Central and look to build on last night's 11-run outburst in Pittsburgh when they continue their series against the Pirates. And Paul Skeens, the number 1 pick in last week's baseball draft by the Pirates, has signed his deal with a bonus of just over $9 million. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Jim Rome here. Wednesday in the Jungle, former Pro Bowl and Heisman running back Mark Ingram and FAU head football coach Tom Herman. Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. Been a rough couple weeks here for running backs, so let's get the thoughts of one. The all-time leading rusher, for the New York Giants, that is the one and only Tiki Barber, who's going to be taking over the afternoon show at WFAN pretty soon and is a good friend of ours. Tiki, welcome to the show. Thanks for doing it today. How are you?
Thanks for having me on. How you guys doing?
Who is the all-time leading scorer for the Giants? It's got to be one of your kickers, right? It's like Lawrence Tynes.
It's probably a kicker. I don't have the rushing touchdown total either because Brandon Jacobs stole all my touchdowns over the years.
Boo.
When I get caught on the 5-yard line or closer, I see his big ass come shot for my touchdowns for me.
And it was big. He was a big dude. Exactly. Tiki, you're in good spirits today, but a lot of your running back brethren are really not. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, just to name a few. The latest, Pollard signed the tag, so it looks like he's going to play for the Cowboys this year. But for Saquon and Josh Jacobs, Tiki, what do you tell these guys? Because I don't know what advice you have for them. No one likes it, but you can kind of see where the market's going, right?
Well, Maggie, unfortunately, they have zero leverage. There's nothing that they can do. Nothing they could do leading up to the tag deadline. But now there's certainly nothing they can do. And as I said earlier today when I was on the midday with Sal, I said, if I'm Saquon, the only control that I have is to go out and be awesome this year. Rush for 1,500 yards, scored 12 touchdowns or whatever it may be. That's the only thing that's left in his control. And it's a shame what's happened to the position, because there was an era, and it's not that long ago, where you needed a guy who could give you 25 to 30 carries. You could trust him on the field every down. He was the difference maker. He would do the grinding work, and every now and then he'd split one and demoralize the opposing team's defense. But offense has changed. It's become so wide open, and you can blame the kids. Really, you can blame Mike Shanahan and his kid, and then all the kids that came with him, for making offenses so varied and complex, and throwing the ball to run the ball, bubble screens, and all these little shovel passes, these things that simulate runs that have devalued the position. So all he can do is take it and go try to be great this year. There's nothing else that can be done at this point.
Well, what about the holding out option? Their first game against Dallas, week 1, Sunday Night Football. That would be the loudest holdout since Emmitt Smith, in my opinion. Does that do anything for Saquon Barkley? At least he'd save a little wear and tear. He might cost him a little money, but he'd save a little wear and tear before he hit free agency.
You know what it does? It'll piss off Giants fans. Yep. It'll make them upset with him for not being there for one of the most important games to start the season. And you mentioned Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith could do it back then because the franchise tag wasn't the same. And I don't think it was available. And so what the franchise tag has become, unfortunately for running backs, is a tool that only works for the organization. It used to be, you're going to get franchise tag, at least you're going to get paid a lot of money. But there's not a lot of top paid running backs. So the franchise tag, as crazy as that sounds, is like the 5th highest paid player at the position in the NFL. So the average of the top 5 salaries, cap numbers, which is how they measure it, it doesn't really do anything for you. It should be punitive for the team, but at $10 million, that's not punitive other than the cap hit. But a lot of teams can absorb $10 million for the running back position. It's still only about 8 or 9% of the cap. It's not something that is untenable for a lot of these teams.
Tiki Barber is joining us. He's the Giants' all-time leading rusher, former Pro Bowler, and we're talking about running backs because they've been the topic in the NFL with not getting long-term deals done as the franchise tag deadline expired yesterday, and you got Bupkis. Tiki, for Austin Eckler, was on with our buddy Zach Gelb, and kind of had this sort of don't poke the bear, was his comment. Like, you don't want to tick off running backs. Like, you're telling me the best thing that Saquon Barkley can do is like have an all-pro season for the Giants. That's not exactly getting back at them. That's helping them achieve their goal. When Austin Eckler says, poke the bear, what kind of threat can he possibly be talking about?
Well, I mean, I hate this for Austin Eckler because I really like him. When we were doing your show, when we were on the national show, we had him on a lot. And I enjoyed talking to him because he's a very smart, intellectual kid. He grinds. Like, he kind of came from nowhere and turned to one of the more important pieces out in that Chargers offense. But he's 28 years old. And as a 27-year-old, Dalvin Cook is getting offered less than $5 million a year. So I know what he's saying, but there isn't a lot of fight in available for running backs. And the position has it's evolved to a thing that requires a specific coordinator and a specific offense to want that guy in order for it to be valuable. The perfect example is Kyle Shanahan with Christian McCaffrey. Now, he's not going to get paid again either, but Kyle Shanahan and with Christian McCaffrey, that offense gets really exciting and explosive. So unless it's like very specific, Derrick Henry for Tennessee, very specific, or Alvin Kamara in New Orleans, you're not going to get these guys paid. And it's unfortunate because it used to be you had to have a great running back. Now it's by committee. And since there's 3 or 4 of them, I kept seeing these things. My buddy sent me a meme that said running backs are paid less than kickers on average. It's like $1.8 million. For kickers, it's $2.2 million. But that's because teams have 3, sometimes 4 running backs. And most of those guys are making under $1 million. And maybe one guy is making 5 or 6 or 10. But it's just the reality of the situation in the NFL for RBs. And it stinks. As someone who played the position and who was counted upon to have 350 plus touches a year, I miss that era, but it's gone. Just like the tight end used to be a big part of offenses, back in the day. Now they're basically big wide receivers, tight ends. Running backs have kind of, I don't want to say they've expired because you always need one, but you don't need a high paid one. That's the problem.
So, Tiki, if you look at sort of the grassroots, I know you know grassroots football. If you're a star athlete, will you think you'll go away from running back? And obviously, I know you could have played another position because your twin brother played another position. Yep. I don't know, how did you become a running back and Rondé a defensive back? And is that something, if you were coming up today, you might think twice about?
Well, because I was faster, I was bigger, and I was tougher. I could take the hits. Right? Rondé was a wimp.
But if you want to get paid now, that's what you should do.
You know what I would do, Andrew, is I would play wide receiver. So one of the things that has happened, in addition to not being able to hit quarterbacks, is you can't hit wide receivers either. Think about in the 80s and 90s, all wide receivers were big, 100, 215 pound, 6'4" guys. Now you look at the Tyreek Hills of the NFL, even Odell Beckham Jr. These guys are smaller. Why? Because speed is at a premium. When you have it, it's like you can feel it, and you can't destroy those guys going across the middle like Steve Atwater used to do. You can't do that. It's like John Lynch used to do. You can't do that anymore. And so receivers have gotten smaller. So if I was coming up now and I had good hands, which I did, obviously, I'd play wide receiver, because I know there's a better chance of me getting paid being a wide receiver than there is one playing running back.
Tiki, no. Last year, Perloff said that wide receiver is the new running back, and I disagreed. And then
he was right.
And he thinks that now wide receiver is going to be the next position that the league's going to come for, and teams are just going to cycle through wide receivers, and no one's going to get paid.
Well,
Well, I mean, look, when you have an elite one, right?
But the Vikings got rid of Diggs and then just drafted Jefferson. It's not exactly what I said. Why are there like 9 great receivers that enter the league every year now? It's kind of funny the way that's been happening.
Well, because think about it. You talked about like grassroots football, but think of 7-on-7 football.
Yep.
This is what teams or kids are doing these days. Like all my friends that are have high school level kids, they're not preparing by grinding in the off seasons and lifting weights. They're doing 7-on-7 camps. so
Sounds nice, actually.
Yeah, right. Like the wide receiver has become the most important position because teams use and deploy 4 or 5 of them sometimes, right? And it's just the evolution of football. There's a really good podcast you guys should listen to, or your listeners should listen to if they have The Athletic. And in fact, you can get it on things outside The Athletic. It's called The Play Callers. It's about Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay,
the LaFleurs,
Matt LaFleur. Yep. And who's the last one? McDonald, Mike McDonald down in Miami.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel.
It details how they evolved offense. It all started with Mike Shanahan's, stretch zone plays, right? And they just evolved off that. They put the bootleg in, and then they put the same level, like the fake toss and the same level bootleg with the toss. It's so much crazy stuff that offenses are doing these days. Unfortunately, it doesn't require a running back. Right? I'm serious. Think about the Rams. They won a Super Bowl. The leading rusher was Cam Akers. You saw that meme today. You know how many yards he had? 21.
Yeah.
In the Super Bowl.
No one should be listening to anything but us. Also, your new show when Tiki and Evan take over
podcast guy.
The WFAN afternoon show. Tiki, thanks. You know this clock. We're flat out of time. Thank you for joining us and carving some time out for us today. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tiki.
See you guys.
All right. Tiki Barber. Listen, he's right. They don't have the leverage. And guys want to play wide receiver now, right?
Yeah. Although you kind of didn't provide context.
I did say it.
I did say it, but maybe I could explain it a little more in the sense that they're becoming a little generic. Like you can get rid of your veteran draft.
We were up against the break. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Coming up, Dak Prescott makes a bold claim.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The PGA Tour could not look worse. They look like the most hypocritical losers possible. And now they look like fools because 15 months later, they're now taking all of that money that they called dirty. You can't spin faster on this.
It is impressive. This guy should run my company. I mean, he is.
Run for office.
He's got, I was about to say, has Jay Monahan thought about stepping down and running for president? Because he's got all the skills. Just to be able to turn that fast, that's a skill. To be that empty.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome into the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff hanging out on CBS Sports Radio on this Tuesday. Now, I didn't think that Perloff had a lot in common with Dak Prescott.
What?
Considering he plays for the Cowboys, you're a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, I would think you'd be on opposite sides of basically everything.
Dak Prescott? Okay. No, but
it turns out you do have something in common.
What's that?
You both blamed last year's interceptions on drops. You were out front all last year, especially when the interceptions really started to pile up towards the end, that Dak Prescott was not being helped out by his wide receivers.
Yes. Also, by the way, I can say Dak Prescott is wired very similarly to Andrew Perloff. We have a lot in common.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, like his personality's got a lot of Perloff in it.
I guess I was thinking like athletically.
Yeah, athletically, we have 0.0 in common.
I guess that's
but
where I was going.
Yes, of course. I mean, you saw it. The key interceptions were all hit guys in the chest and bounced up. And so finally, Dak admitted that was the reason there were all those picks?
He said you can take away half of his interceptions last year because those were on drops.
Oh,
now,
there we go.
Was kind of also a little diplomatic about it, didn't really want to blame his receivers, but, 15 interceptions last year to the 23 touchdowns. Of course, he only played in 12 regular season games. So 15 interceptions in 12 games. He is now vowed. I don't know, did he make a promise, Samter, or did he just sort of say it? He is vowed he will not throw 10 interceptions this upcoming season.
I totally back that statement. I think they're going to be very careful. They're going to run the ball more, and they're going to, he has more targets to go to. It's not just CeeDee Lamb or bust. I totally think Dak Prescott can get there.
Okay, so you think that no matter how many games he plays, whether it's the full 17-game slate, he might get hurt again, miss a couple of games, who knows, you think he's not going to throw 10 interceptions or more?
I think he's speaking a little bit in theory. Right. I think it'll be 12 or below. Because last year there was only really two starting quarterbacks who were under 10 interceptions. One was Tom Brady, and Tom Brady threw, I would say, 40% of his balls into the ground last year just to avoid interceptions. Yeah. And the other was somehow Jared Goff didn't throw any picks last year.
That offense was amazing.
Trevor Lawrence was under 10 too, and Hurts was under 10 but didn't play the whole season. So it's really hard. All the good quarterbacks have double-digit interceptions, the best quarterbacks. But I think 12 is a realistic goal, and I think he'll get to 12 or under.
Okay. I'm interested in how this is going to go because McCarthy is now in charge of the offense. They've always threatened to go back to the run game more. Now, Tony Pollard did sign the franchise tag. So unlike Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs, who have not signed the tag and have a decision to make on whether to hold out, Pollard already signed his. So that makes me think he's going to be there. Now, he's never been the feature back.
Yeah.
He is coming off of a broken leg. So as I'm trying to see if maybe you and I want to turn this into a bet. Now,
by the way, Mike McCarthy never struck me as a huge run guy. He still throws the ball all over the field with Aaron Rodgers back in the day.
He does, but Kellen Moore was a little bit more, was it like Madden football a little at times? But whatever. The question is more about the bet. Now, okay. Perloff has already said that if Victor Wembanyama wins Rookie of the Year, he's going to drive to San Antonio.
I stick by that. I just feel like you're too impatient. You can't wait.
I can't wait that long.
That'll be June when that's announced or something crazy like that?
We got forever on that. So if you're going to drive to Texas anyway, in theory.
Right.
Why don't we do something a little bit closer, like a little sooner, something that's going to pay off a little bit sooner, and maybe I get involved in it.
Okay.
And maybe the question is, depending on where we land on Dak Prescott interceptions, somebody's driving to Dallas.
Okay, I'll drive to Dallas. Now, here's a question, though. What if he gets hurt halfway through the season?
It doesn't matter. This is just, it's whatever the number is. If I think he's going to throw more, you think he's going to throw less, wherever we come down upon, if he breaks his leg in week 1, that's it. The bet is set.
I will do 12 or under.
See, I think he said 10.
Yeah, but he's an NFL quarterback. What's he going to say? He's going to say, I'm going to improve. And
Yeah, he'll say, he should have said, I'm going to throw fewer than 15.
If he goes out week 1, he's still throwing 12.
Yeah, right. Against the Giants, I don't know their secondary. But how do we do this? Because I don't know if I want to give you 12. 12...
There's almost a 0% chance that he's not throwing 10. Like in his career as an NFL quarterback, his rookie year when he had that great year in replacement for Romo, I think he had 4.
Yeah, but that's also Zeke Elliott was also incredible.
After that, every single year he's been over 10, except for the year that he got hurt.
He had 8 in 2018 where he played all 16 games.
So there's been 1 year where he was too shy. So, like, basically, he has to have the best year of his career, stay healthy for all 17 games. And plus, there's an extra game. So, he's doing 2 more picks if he played an extra game.
Wait a minute, though, but I thought we're expecting big things from Prescott. Remember the urgency, and this is going to be the year, and he can see 30 now.
Still throwing 10.
Yeah, by the way, I mean, listen, how many did Josh Allen throw last year?
Like 14.
Yeah, I mean, and Mahomes throws. Mahomes has had really clean seasons, but I think Mahomes threw a bunch last year too. Just because you throw picks doesn't mean your season's bad necessarily.
No, but clearly this is a goal for him, right? I mean, if it's a stated goal.
I'm kind of like I'm thinking really positively about him because I think if he's not going to throw jump balls. I think he's not going to throw third. He had a lot of situations third and long where he threw them up last year. I think he's going to be super cautious. I mean,
so
listen,
if you think he's going to be super cautious, why don't you take it to 11?
Okay, I'll do 11 I'll do 11 or under, but I don't know. I want to think about that. I don't know if I want to drive to Texas based on 11 under for Dak Prescott. First of all, that's not as fun as the Victor Wembanyama thing.
I know, but the Wembanyama thing is going to take forever to pay off.
I hear you.
How about this Dallas barbecue in Midtown? You got to walk there. You got to get food for all of us, and you got to walk back.
I will dress up as a full cowboy if Dak throws more than 11. And I think
I have some cowboy stuff in our office,
like spurs and things.
I got like a hat. I think I've got a holster.
I don't remember why we had that at all.
When we poured the barbecue sauce all over your head, and we've already done that, so we can't go back to the well on that.
So, oh man, I'll go 11 or under. I think the only thing I want to think about the stakes, I really don't want to drive to Dallas because Dak Prescott got loose with the ball.
But you will gladly drive to San Antonio.
He could have the best year of his life and throw 12 picks. Well, yeah, no, I'm not going to lose that Wembanyama. There's no way. I saw enough of Wembanyama in Summer League. He's the most overrated player in the entire NBA.
Yeah.
And there's not even a close second. Dak and interceptions, that one I feel good about, but I don't feel rock solid about. I mean, that's very few interceptions. Why did Dak have to say that, Maggie?
To troll us? I don't know. Because he thinks it. That's why. Because he's going to have a clean season. So there you go. You want to weigh in on Dak Prescott, 10 interceptions or fewer this season, 855-212-4CBS. Stu, can we hit the music on the Great Debate Series, please?
The Great Debate Series. Jordan versus LeBron.
Yep, it's Jordan LeBron week here on the Maggie and Perloff show, but we're not just doing this argument willy-nilly. We take a different angle of the debate every single day. Yesterday was athleticism, who's the more athletic player. We debated that. Today it's all about full resume and winning in terms of what is your full, resume of winning. I think I said it right the first time. So Jordan, obviously, 6 finals, appearances, 6 titles. Amazing. LeBron James, though, 10 finals appearances, only 4 titles, but more playoff games than Michael Jordan, more success, I guess, as you could say, in terms of volume in the playoffs than Michael Jordan, and better numbers in the playoffs. Scoring, Michael Jordan's got him, but LeBron has, 100 more double-doubles than Jordan in the playoffs. He's got 26 more triple-doubles and 103 more starts in the playoffs. So there's just more of it for LeBron.
Yeah.
But obviously Jordan has a perfect 6 for 6.
I think our big point of distinction here, where we totally disagree, is the value of being a runner-up. Because there have been a lot of crappy runner-ups. You could go the last bunch of them. I mean, this year's Heat had no right to be in that final. They weren't even close to the Nuggets. So what does that really prove?
Well, I mean, it proves something for the Heat, though, to get there. That Boston
really,
team
though?
was not a bad team.
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, they were up 3-0, and they made it 7 games. The year before was Boston, pretty good one. The Phoenix team in 2021, like, what did that finals appearance lead to? Nothing. There was no legacy there. The Heat again in 2020. Generally, though, I just think getting to the finals historically doesn't mean that much.
Okay, but think about it. That might be the last several years as you're going through, as the parity has become crazy.
Yeah.
But with LeBron, you got great rivalries with San Antonio. You got great rivalries with the Warriors. The Warriors are just an all-time great team that LeBron ran into, got one off of them. But once they added KD, that was game over for everybody.
But that Bulls team would have murdered that Warriors team.
Well, we could debate that till the end of time.
Scottie Pippen once told us that they would have won in 4 games, and he guaranteed. Of course, Pippen's 5. But honestly, I think that Warriors team would have had a real hard time with the Bulls team. Because
Michael Thompson said he thought those teams were the greatest teams of all time. Now Clay is on his team. I know, but he played for the Showtime Lakers, so he might have had a stake in it. You know, he clearly has a stake in it.
Well, we might as well ask LeBron's son. Who does he think? Or LeBron, you know,
it's going to be hard. It's hard to find really neutral parties on this thing.
Well, I mean, let's find one that's not directly related to one of the stars.
Okay, but you brought up Scottie Pippen, which is why I brought it up. But the thing is
true.
It's not like LeBron didn't have great, wasn't going up against great teams, like multiple finals against San Antonio, which we know how well run that organization is, how great some of those teams were, and ran up against the Warriors, who kind of redefined the NBA and were doing it in real time, and perhaps have one of the greatest super teams of all time with Durant.
I actually think the opposite. I think that LeBron was facing a watered down NBA. It felt like the talent is more spread out now for LeBron's era than it was for Michael's era. There was just, Michael was just going on against juggernauts left and right. That Jazz team was amazing, multiple Hall of Famers. Every team that he beat in the finals was great. The Trailblazers were fantastic that year he beat them. Jerome Kersey and Clyde Drexler. The Suns were basically an all-star team. I just think that Jordan was facing a much more condensed top of the NBA.
I don't know. I mean, I think I could say the same thing. How many Hall of Famers are on those Spurs teams? It's going to end up being Duncan, 3. Manu, Tony Parker, and also Greg Popovich is going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, players.
How many Warriors players are getting into the Hall of Fame that LeBron went up against in the finals? I mean, how many guys from those Oklahoma City Thunder? I know that they were young at the time, but LeBron's first title in Miami, you're talking about KD, Westbrook, and Harden. They're all going to the Hall of Fame.
Oof.
I'm just telling you, you can.
Oh, man. It's amazing that team won any game with that trio.
Well, they lost 4-1, but I'm just saying.
But, I mean, okay, for example, Miami was an 8 seed this year, and they got through. Basically, that never happened back in the day. Most of the teams that Jordan had to beat in the finals won 65 games. Now it's just a bunch of garbage. The
Knicks as an 8 seed made it to play the Houston Rockets the year that Jordan retired. 8 seeds, it was a lockout shortened season, but 8 seeds still made it.
Not really, though. I mean,
Or against the Spurs, I guess it was. The Knicks were the 8
because the NBA is so watered down right now. Pretty much whoever's healthy at the end, it's just. I'm telling you, these teams that the Bulls had to face were really, really good teams.
I know, and I'm telling you, the teams that LeBron faces were also really, really good teams. We just did the greatest teams.
Wait, the ones he lost? But he lost to them. He didn't beat them, though. So you don't get any credit. Anybody can lose to a great team.
But that
doesn't take any special skill. I've lost to great players a million times.
I know, but you're saying that I value runner-up and you don't. And I'm saying, because you're saying that the league is watered down, and I'm saying not the teams that LeBron was losing to. Those weren't watered-down teams. You can say whatever you want about runner-ups in the last 5 years, but the ones that LeBron was losing to, the Spurs and the Warriors, those weren't watered-down teams.
The teams that
Dallas
he lost.
Mavericks, okay.
Yeah, but he didn't beat them, so you can't even.
Well, he did actually. He beat the Spurs and he beat the Warriors. It's just he doesn't have 6 titles. He only has 4.
He beat an ancient Spurs team, and then he beat a Warriors team that was having issues that year. I don't know. I just these 6 finals losses do nothing for me. They don't really add that much to me. Listen, remember those Nets teams that got shellacked by the Lakers?
Yeah.
So who cares? What did they amount to? That didn't mean anything to me. They got through a ridiculously weak East.
But we still put those Lakers teams as in our top 5 greatest teams the last 30 years. We still put them on.
Right. But I'm saying, we don't look at that Nets team as a great team or even that good. Nobody ever talks about those.
Well, that's because
Richard Jefferson Nets teams.
But that's because not all finals are created equal. It's not every time that you get 2 all-time teams that meet play each other. I thought what the Cavs and the Warriors had and what the Heat and San Antonio Spurs had for those short periods of time, that was really special.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line is Jordan would have beaten all of them just by his sheer willpower.
Yeah.
Also, too, he would just be... One thing is a little different. The Warriors would use that three-pointer, but Jordan would have adjusted to that style. Also, Jordan's Bulls would have been great at covering all those three-point players, much better than LeBron's teams.
But they wouldn't have been able to keep up three-pointers on the other end.
Yeah, but their defense would have caused major problems. I mean, that's how they won all those titles. Like, look at the scores. I noticed that at The Last Dance, like all the finals games were like 91 to 77 or something. Nobody scored in the 90s at all. But Jordan would have adjusted, I think.
In the chat, we got Apache in the chat says, "Come on, Maggie. LeBron James is the most overrated loser in NBA history," and that's kind of hilarious. But then he put the prayer hands after it. That's like saying, "No offense, but." You're the biggest loser in NBA history. The prayer hands don't really do much to save that comment. Way to try to be nice afterwards. Anyway, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. All right, coming up, you want to do the thing? We got two things.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
But I want to set some very, very strong ground rules on how this next thing's going to work.
Jeez, we haven't even done it yet.
Well, I don't want to see Stu cheating his way to a title here.
Cheating? Okay.
He's working pretty hard over there to make sure.
Samter's been like cramming the whole show. Haven't you?
By the way, has anybody looked at... Okay.
The show started like 5 minutes ago, right?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I've been paying full attention to everything we've been talking about.
Okay.
Do you want to tell them what we're doing?
Yes, we're going to do an SEC quarterback fantasy football draft where we're only drafting quarterbacks. It's going to be a snake draft. But what already has me worried is I can't believe anyone looked past 4 guys. After that, I was like, I'm not doing the guys that I don't know. Like, I don't know. Do I have to look at the Vandy quarterback now? Because that was not part of my plan.
It might come down to that. So this is going to be, everyone's going to keep their own stats. We're going to do a fantasy football league of just SEC quarterbacks, which I think is fun because some of these teams, we don't even know who's starting.
Yeah, that's where it's going to get really interesting. You look at Alabama, you look at Ole Miss, whoever's starting is going to put up monster numbers, but we have no idea. So you could draft Milroe, and then he doesn't get a snap this season.
Okay, but on the flip side, it's college football, so you could see a quarterback change in the middle of the year, and maybe your guy does make it in just in time to put up some big numbers.
Yeah, I know. That's why I get after the 4th pick, I'm much less comfortable with any of these names.
Well,
we're going to have the 2nd pick. I'm pretty uncomfortable.
So we'll do snake draft. We still have to choose the order, so we'll do that coming up. We'll do that in the break. So have that ready to go.
That should be exciting.
So SEC Media Days going on. Yeah, we'll spare everybody that on the air.
I don't want to see any frozen envelopes for Stu Kovacs here. We need a neutral party to help us determine the order.
Well, we can't just pick out of a hat.
Well,
you think there's... Well, okay.
This is big
Ackerman
business
will do
here.
it.
Ackerman will do it. We all trust Ackerman. He won't play favorites.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get Rich to do it, and we will have our SEC fantasy quarterback draft in honor of SEC Media Days, which are happening in Nashville right now. Okay, Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio. Don't move. We're back in moments with our SEC quarterback draft and also the email that I received yesterday, totally out of the blue. And when I tell you the Weedos and the Purple Drinkers are going to want to hear about this one. Who emailed me today? You're going to find out. We'll do all that next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. We are about to do our SEC quarterback fantasy football draft. This is going to be best ball in the sense that you can't change your team once you pick them, which means you could draft someone high, they could get hurt, and you're out of luck. Standard fantasy rules, I'm going to say them right now. If anyone disagrees, let me know. 6 points for a rushing touchdown, 1 point for every 10 rushing yards, 1 point for every 25 passing yards, 4 points for a passing touchdown. Standard fantasy football rules.
And how many quarterbacks are we going to do per team? We're going to do 4 quarterbacks per team?
I think we should do 3.
Okay.
Because I think we should do 3 unless did you want to do 4?
Well, the only reason I want to do 4 is to maybe try to guard against. Yeah, if you do have a quarterback that goes down, that means you're basically out. But if you have 3 quarterbacks, maybe you can make up for it. I don't know.
Sure, why not? Let's go 4.
Go 4 deep.
Let's give
we'll see if we can go 4 deep in this draft.
Okay.
Stu, can we get a little music? Thank you. Oh, I love it. Okay, so the order we just picked out of our LSU hat that we have here.
Apropos.
Yep. The order is I'm going first, Samter is 2, Perloff is 3, Stu is 4. Stu, all your efforts to cheat? For not. All right, now this is kind of tough for me, right? Because I have the first overall pick. And if I'm going to go on who I think is going to have the best numbers this year, this is really tough. This is really tough. I kind of don't like having the first overall pick. But
Do you want me to give you a quarter for you to flip a coin?
No, I'm going to, instead of going with the convention, I did pick out of the LSU hat, so give me Jaden Daniels from LSU. I know there are quarterbacks who maybe had better numbers last year, but Jaden Daniels is going to be number one overall pick for me.
All right.
All right, Samter, you're 2.
You're killing me, Smalls.
He was not happy with that pick, Maggie.
I'm so pissed. I want Jaden Daniels all day. He's the only one I actually care about. He played at ASU, and that's my team. I was all in on Jaden Daniels. So since you have that and you stole that from me, I was sure I was going to have number 2. I'm going to go KJ Jefferson with the number 2 pick out of Arkansas with Sam Pittman.
See, that's who I was thinking about going with because his numbers
he's
were
going to have the best year. I just have an emotional connection to Jaden Daniels.
Well, maybe he'll end up servicing you well and not me. Perloff, you're up.
So it's funny. I did not expect things to go this way at all. I will say right now, I thought Jaden Daniels would be sitting there for me, and I thought KJ Jefferson was probably going to go number 1. But the guy I want number 1, I would have taken without a doubt. He's a transfer. Well, transferred a couple years ago. He's going to join the Heupel train in Tennessee. Joe Milton, number 3.
There you go. Nice
Little
job.
upside there. Apparently can do a backflip like Anthony Richardson. I think that's an important skill in a young quarterback these days. So I'm going to Joe Milton.
Stu, you're up.
All right, back-to-back picks. With my first pick, I'm going with another transfer. This one from NC State to Kentucky, Devin Leary.
Good pick.
With my first pick, and then my second pick, I just love the potential of Carson Beck.
Oh, you jerk.
He plays enough, so hopefully gets the job for sure. But with all the weapons around him, great offensive line, I'll go Carson Beck with my second pick. First pick of the second round.
Okay, Stu, your pick now, Perloff, right?
Okay. I already had the Perloff Beck jersey made up. I told you I have a bet on the Heisman for Beck. He's about 11th.
I'm going to trade my entire team for Jaden Daniels, I think.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk trades. Well, okay, then I'm going to. Will Rogers fell to me, Mississippi State. I know Mike Leach sadly has passed, but had big numbers last year, so I'm going to assume he fell to me. I don't know how that team's going to look this year, but it feels like the safest pick. Mike, you're up.
Man, you guys keep taking all my guys, but there's no question Rogers was going to keep falling. I think here I just have to trust in Lane Kiffin and go with Spencer Sanders. It's a little bit risky because he still has Jackson Dart, but Jackson Dart has proven time and again that he's just not the guy. So I'm gonna put my faith in Spencer Sanders and Lane Kiffin.
All right, that means I'm up next here, and I am really deciding between. Oh man, I got 2 guys right here. I almost want to talk it out, but I don't want to give away any of my strategy.
I might trade for one of your guys.
I've only selected one guy.
I know, but I really want where you are right now.
Okay, I'm going to go with Connor Wegman from Texas A&M, Bobby Petrino as the new offensive coordinator. I might regret this pick a little bit, considering Max Johnson also on the roster, and I think Wegman's going to be starting everything. But yeah, give me Connor Wegman, Texas A&M.
You get to go again.
You're a bang bang.
Spencer Rattler, South Carolina. Yeah. That's going to be my next one.
Maggie, you keep doing this to me. Like you keep like the pick right before me every time. Will Rogers, Jaden Daniels, and Spencer Rattler. Every single time, you guys you're killing me. I'm gonna take a chance right now. This is gonna be maybe the most controversial pick of all of them because nobody has any idea who's starting in Alabama. But Jalen Milroe, I've been hearing Perloff talking about this guy for like 3 years now or 2 years now. And he's got to do something. He turns the ball over like crazy. So if he keeps doing that, he's not going to be starting. But I'm going to go Jalen Milroe. I'm going to bet that he starts. And if he does, he's going to dominate. And so I'm going Jalen Milroe.
Wow. So we have 4 quarterbacks in total.
Yep. This is your last pick.
No, I have 2.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You have 2.
I have 2. This is a little tricky. Okay.
Yeah, you're going to have to go with guys further down on the depth chart.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I could get the starter at a couple schools that the starter has fallen out. Auburn's probably going to ball out this year, but they have not named a starter. Oof. Okay. I'm basically going to screw over Samter here and take Jackson Dart. Ole Miss, hope a little bit of that Lane Kiffin magic carries me if he wins a job. You also got that kid who was in the Brian Kelly dancing video, Walker Howard.
Yeah, he's there too.
And I think they have another sort of 5-star hanging around there. By the way, is Texas and Oklahoma in this draft? Because I would also like Quinn Ewers.
That's not till next year.
Okay.
Stu, what's up?
All right, another set of back-to-back picks. With my first pick, I will go with Peyton Thorne from Auburn.
Yep.
He is the guy that hopefully will be the starter. We'll see what happens with that. And for my second pick, I will go Graham Mertz from Florida. Again, another starter likely. So I'm kind of banking on guys that are going to start.
You had to do it.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
I mean, they did bring in a transfer pretty late in Florida because they weren't happy with Mertz. By the way, do you know that Graham Mertz grew up in the house next to Dennis Dodd, friend of the show, in Kansas City?
Crazy.
He's an awesome dude. I'm going to go with the other Alabama quarterback, one of the other Alabama quarterbacks, Tyler Buchner, with my next pick, playing the odds here. And watch Ty Simpson just win the Heisman here. And both me and Mike be out of luck. So that's my fourth.
Yeah, you're not leaving me with much here, so I think...
Go Alabama again. Why not?
I think I'm kind of just in a spot. I'm going to go Brady Cook out of Missouri here.
That's not a bad situation.
Yeah, I was thinking about going with Simpson and just kind of hedging my bet with Milroe. Kind of like, drafting two running back, drafting the back of running back in fantasy just to have it in case the guy goes down. But I don't think I'm confident enough in that. So I'm going Brady Cook.
Okay. I think my last... So this is it, right? This is me?
This is it.
This is the last pick in our SEC quarterback draft. Do I go Ty Simpson or do I go A.J. Swan from Vandy? What do I do here? What do I do? Do I take a guy who's going to be the starter, or do I take Ty Simpson and try to shoot the moon in Alabama? No one's looking at me. Ack, what would you do? I'm going to have to go with Swan, I guess, because I think he's going to start.
I did actually see Greg McElroy yesterday at SEC Media Day. He says he thinks that Simpson's going to win that job.
All right, I'm going to change to Simpson. I'm taking to change it to Simpson.
It's a huge risk, though, because if he doesn't pull it off, then...
I know.
You know what? I like that we're all stuck in that Alabama. I'd rather you have Simpson, so we're all...
So if somebody has a stake in Alabama,
yeah.
If A.J. Swan wins the Heisman, I'm going to kill everybody.
All three of those Alabama quarterbacks will likely play at some point. So I think it'll be more fun if we all have an Alabama quarterback.
And Stu's just sitting here
with Alabama guy. Who's their fourth quarterback?
They have is Eli Ricks still there, the super recruit? Or Eli Robertson, or one of those guys. Eli somebody is there.
You good with that? Eli somebody? Okay. I've been teasing it. I got to tell you quickly about the email that I got today. Because
Eli Holstein.
Eli Holstein. That makes more sense.
Eli Robertson's another player. Go ahead.
Okay. So we're all good with our... Delta 9 Brian says, was that even planned, or did they decide to do that on the fly? You'll never know.
It did not sound like, fantasy draft we could build up for weeks. That didn't sound like that, but I like it anyway.
That's all right. We all have our teams now. We're all going to follow them throughout the season. So this one's for the Weedos and the Purple Drinkers. So as you know, when the Wentz poster was behind you, and we were trying to do everything we could to get 1,000 new YouTube subscribers just to destroy the Carson Wentz poster, right? This took over the show. You threatened some kind of Carson's Corner that I haven't seen anything, thankfully. Nothing has happened with that.
That's out of pure sloth. No other reason that Carson's Corner has not been built yet.
So we got 1,000 new YouTube subscribers, and we destroyed the Carson Wentz poster. But on the way to getting those 1,000 new YouTube subscribers, we did a lot of things. I ate a jar of jelly.
Yeah.
We also gave to some charities.
Mm-hmm.
Today, this morning, I got an email. Said, "Dear Maggie, thank you so much. I appreciate this. And I just wanted to make sure that this was right. Maggie, Hello from Fargo, North Dakota.
Yeah. Yes.
I received your donation, and I'm wondering if you intended it for us, or perhaps it was meant for another club. Please know this is not a scam. I'm not looking for any information from you. I just want to make certain that this gift was indeed intended for us.
Oh, that's so nice.
So nice, right? So,
wow.
Perloff made a couple, I made a couple, like in our names or whatever, but we both paid on behalf of you guys.
Is that the most North Dakota thing you've ever heard in your life?
It was the nicest email.
Like, it's like Minnesota nice, Canada. Like, all the northern people are very, very nice.
Well,
who gets a donation? It's like, well, are you sure you meant to do that? Like, how nice are you?
So then I was like, what do I say?
Say, yeah, we are a national show, and we were talking about Carson Wentz. Don't mention that we were selling Carson Wentz out.
I was like, do I mention that the whole reason we made the donation was because we were going to end up destroying the poster?
Just say Fargo, the movie, was your favorite movie of all time, and the series was also excellent.
No, I did tell her. I said, nope, not a mistake. I said, Andrew and I host a nationally syndicated sports talk radio show on the CBS Sports Network, and long story short, we started making donations in places where Carson Wentz played football. I just yada-yada'd over the most important part.
You getting yada the best part?
Long story short.
Should I like the bisque?
Yes, thank you, Ack.
And I said, I realize this sounds kind of random. I hope you're having a great summer, and if there's anything we can ever do to help out, please let us know. And she wrote back, well, now that makes sense. She said that, of course, I searched you guys out on Google and learned of your successful sports talk radio show. Mm-hmm. Good to hear you're a fan of North Dakota State University and our star, Carson Wentz.
Wow.
There we go.
Yeah.
Fargo Boys and Girls Club. We were happy to do it. Whatever you can use our money towards, we are more than happy to make that donation.
How about we do the driving bet? I will drive to Fargo if Trey Lance throws 15 touchdowns this year.
That's a low bar. Although I guess,
I don't think he's going to play.
Yeah. How many games is he going to
That's a high bar for a third-string quarterback.
I thought you were going to say, I'll drive to Fargo if Carson Wentz appears in a game this year. Did he sign anywhere yet? No, right?
Not yet.
Right.
Well, yeah, but that he could wait for an injury, and then he probably will appear in a game. It's the NFL. By week 17, you're going to appear in a game for some team. Everybody plays in the NFL. That should be fun. By the way, the SEC draft, I hope it doesn't come and go. Like, this is super fun, but now I feel like a little deflated. I have my team. I don't want to wait 4 weeks. I want to see how Will Rogers does immediately.
We've got 6 Saturdays to go.
Yeah,
We're
I can't wait.
There.
I cannot wait to see these guys actually playing.
I just wonder if we're going to end up having to do a redraft of some sort. No, there we go. And that was a fun email to get today.
That's great.
Yeah. Are you sure you meant to give us money? Oh, yeah, we did. On behalf of the Weedos, the Purple Drinkers, and everyone who participated in that whole debacle. Okay, coming up next, a lot more to do, including coach-on-coach crime. One coach calling out another. We'll give you the sound in just moments. We'll do that after this CBS Sports Update with Rich Ackerman.
Sports Flag.
Well, the Rangers got the better of the Rays in the battle of the division leaders last night when Texas scored in the bottom of the ninth to take the series opener for their 4th straight win. A huge comeback and a relieved Bruce Bochy elated.
Big win for us. It was a tough sledding there for a while. Yeah, their guy was just throwing so well, but again, it takes your guy to keep you in the ball game, and you never know what's going to happen. And you saw what happened.
They come back with all-star Nathan Eovaldi tonight. Go up against rookie Taj Bradley for the Rays, who have now dropped back-to-back games, but they do remain one up on the Orioles because Baltimore also couldn't hold an early lead and saw its 8-game winning streak end with a loss to the Dodgers. They'll continue that series tonight at Camden Yards. The Giants are stuck on 5 straight wins and a game and a half back in the NL West after last night's game was suspended in Cincinnati. They're about to resume that in the 8th, even at 2. The Reds ended today 2 games behind the Brewers in the NL Central. Milwaukee goes for its 5th straight win in Philadelphia. Top pick overall Paul Skeens signs with the Pirates. He gets a signing bonus of over $9 million. I'm Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports is everywhere, at home, in your car, and of course on your phone and tablet. Find us on your local affiliate, SiriusXM Channel 158, or the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff. We just finished our SEC quarterback draft. So now all four of us have a team of 4 QBs. We don't all have starters, by the way.
I know. I'm a little worried that I'm going to have guys on the bench while everyone else, or you guys have mid-level starters. That's all you need.
Say your team. We'll go in a
So
row.
I got Joe Milton. I have Will Rogers, Mississippi State. I have Jackson Dart, hopefully the starter at Ole Miss. Sorry, Mike. And then my last pick was Tyler Buckner, Alabama.
Okay, I have Jaden Daniels from LSU, Connor Wegman from Texas A&M, Spencer Rattler from South Carolina, and Ty Simpson, who is maybe second or third on the depth chart at Alabama. I'm not sure. Samter, read them off.
My team, I've got KJ Jefferson at Arkansas. I've got Spencer Sanders at Ole Miss. Sorry, Perloff. Jackson Dart's got no chance. I also have Jalen Milroe, who's going to be the stud at Bama, and Brady Cook, who's going to shock the world and win the Heisman for Missouri.
That'd be something. Stu, what do you have?
And I have Carson Beck from Georgia, Devin Leary from Kentucky, Peyton Thorne from Auburn, and Graham Mertz from Florida.
Honestly, Stu picked last, and I like his team probably the most.
The best team.
As far
Well, I just worry that Kentucky...
They have Liam Cohen now back, who had the great year with Will Levis.
But Levis wasn't great. Yeah.
Because he left. So he was with Will Levis for a great year. Then he left to go to the Rams. Levis struggled, and now he's back. So
Devin Leary, by the way, Philly guy. So that's important.
So there you go.
Cheesesteak lover.
Isn't that? I feel like that's,
I wanted Devin Leary, too.
I'm surprised. You were talking Devin Leary up big time last year when you spoke to him at that football camp.
I love Devin Leary. I think he's going to be great. I really wanted Maggie's Connor Wegman because I think he's a stud. Just a little worried about that program. Petrino's a great offensive coordinator, but do you trust Jimbo? I
don't trust Jimbo or Bobby Petrino. What are you, crazy? These two together for totally different reasons.
But the upside is tremendous, though. I mean, the upside is championship.
Okay, so that's our SEC quarterback draft. We're thinking about doing that for the Pac-12, too. We got to decide. Okay, so this was interesting. As we go into the NFL season with training camps and rookies reporting all over the place today, the Jets officially open their training camp tomorrow. Both veterans and rookies, everyone reports. But this was about the Patriots. And this was Tom Curran, who was on the Rich Eisen show. Tom covered the Patriots for a long, long time. He's got sources all over that building. And he was asked about whether Bill Belichick is actually on the hot seat.
You talk about avoiding the hot seat. He's on the hot seat, and he's been there at different levels of warmth since 2019.
Really?
In 2019, Tom Brady wanted a 2-year, $50 million guaranteed contract. Belichick somehow convinces Kraft that not spending that money on Tom Brady was a great idea. He wins the Super Bowl, the Patriots, under Cam Newton because they don't have a plan. They have a good 2021. They bounce back. McDaniels leaves. Again, no plan for replacement.
So there you go. So according to Tom Curran, insider in New England, that Belichick's been on the hot seat in some form or fashion since Brady left, since after 2019. Yeah. So they win the Super Bowl in 2018, right, against the Rams. 2019, not a great year. Brady wants, here's the thing, Brady wants the 2 years, $50 million guaranteed. What shocks me the most out of that is that money could have possibly been any of the reason why this decision was made. I just can't believe that. After all the discounts that Brady took all over the years and was never the highest paid quarterback, now the Patriots would get weird about money? That doesn't square to me.
Well, yeah, except the Patriots are historically not the cheapest, but they're the most hardcore about money. They would cut anybody, and eventually they decided not to pay Tom Brady because that's in their DNA. They're just brutal. They're just looking at the situation now. They let so many players in their prime out. The Lawyer Malloys of the world and Richard Seymour. Didn't matter. So I guess Tom Brady was just another one of them. I do believe that part.
Ooh, I mean, $25 million a year for the greatest quarterback of all time, and you balked at that with all the history they had in New England. That to me doesn't square. Now, what Tom said about the fact that Belichick doesn't have a plan, that might tick me off a little bit if I'm the Crafts. Belichick never wants to let everyone know the secret sauce, whatever it is, right? He keeps everybody really compartmentalized. The do your job is great for him because while everyone's so focused on doing their job, he can see everybody's job, and he knows how this works like an orchestra, and he's the conductor, and no one else can play any of the other instruments. They just play their instrument all the time. This was a weird analogy, but you get what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I think on that point, though, drafts he famously, I think it was him and Nick Caserio and one other person, their cap guy, in the room. You ever see a Patriots war room? There is no war room. The scouts are not allowed in the room. It's Belichick is like the Oz guy. And I think that carries over football, too. He wants to be in total control to the sense he won't empower the people around him at all.
Well, remember the whole thing about when McDaniels... He, balked at Indianapolis. He was supposed to go there and change his mind at the last minute. And when McDaniels went back to New England, it was, remember, Bill's going to open his world to Josh McDaniels. Remember that quote? Going to open the world to Josh McDaniels.
I don't, but that does not sound like Bill Belichick.
Exactly. That clearly must have been a Robert Kraft, like, hey, this is how we're going to get Josh McDaniels to come back. And obviously, he didn't open the world up because McDaniels is now in Vegas and not doing great. So whatever secrets Belichick has, he's not sharing them.
Can I ask you a question? What if there's another layer in here? What if there's a Jimmy G after effect? Because there was clearly severe tension between Kraft and Belichick about Jimmy G versus Tom Brady. Belichick wanted to go with Jimmy G, and Kraft forced him to trade him to San Francisco, where he went on to win and then get hurt. Maybe I think there's some friction that just never went away over that decision as well. And it plays into Belichick not wanting Brady.
Maybe that's part of it. I always thought that was a little more about Brady and Belichick. Like, oh, you wanted Jimmy G?
Well, I think it was. I seem to remember Kraft came in on Brady's behalf and said, we're choosing Brady, not Jimmy G. And which, by the way, it turned out was probably the right choice.
Yeah, a couple Super Bowls later, I think you're right. Let's get to the shot of the day.
He shoots!
The shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos is brought to you by those who drink it. Today's shot of the day comes from one of our guests. Tiki Barber joined us, the Giants' all-time leading rusher, on the fate of running backs and what position he would choose if he was starting his career today.
You know what I would do, Andrew, is I would play wide receiver. One of the things that has happened, in addition to not being able to hit quarterbacks, is you can't hit wide receivers either. Why? Because speed is at a premium, and you can't destroy those guys going across the middle like Steve Atwater used to do. You can't do that. It's like John Lynch used to do. You can't do that anymore. And so receivers have gotten smaller. So if I was coming up now and I had good hands, which I did, obviously, I'd play wide receiver because I know there's a better chance of me getting paid being a wide receiver than there is one playing running back.
Do you think Saquon could be a wide receiver? Aren't his thighs too big to play wide receiver?
And they rub together as he's like running a route? I don't know.
Basically.
He'd probably work out a little bit differently and focus on different aspects of his regimen.
I don't know. That seems genetic, those thighs, and squatting 600 pounds. But here's the thing about, so Tiki said now he'd be a wide receiver. Makes a lot of sense. All these guys are, A.J. Brown's getting $100 million. Steph Diggs got paid. Whatever. Okay. In 5 years, is that still going to be the position that's getting paid? Now, we know quarterback, it's just going to keep going up and up and up. But in 5 years, because 5 years ago, running backs were still getting, some guys were getting big contracts. Todd Gurley got a big contract. Clearly, Christian McCaffrey got a big contract. In 5 years, are we still paying wide receivers like this?
I think we are, but also, too, it's the skills. Tiki nailed it. Kids are coming up playing 7-on-7. Running back is just not the glamour position. I don't think they're interested in running back because they know it's a passing game. So I think a lot more kids are orienting that way. 7-on-7 is such a gigantic force in the sport that it does seem like there'll be a lot of wide receivers. Now, I see where you're going. If you have 7 new good receivers come into the league every year, it's going to depress the value. But now the value is twice? Isn't it? Franchise tag's at 19.7 for wide receiver. It's a 10 point something for running back. So there's still, and also there's multiple wide receivers. You could go 3 deep. I just think there's a lot more room. But it sounds like a lot less wear and tear. That's what I took from that. I'm like, ooh, you're not really going to get knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically been taken out of the game. No more, Antonio Brown taking a big hit from, what's his face, from the Bengals.
Vontaze Burfict?
Vontaze Burfict. Thank you, everybody. All right, there
You're
we
too
go.
Focused on your, Connor Wegman?
My SEC quarterback draft. Ooh, we'll tweet out our teams, which is what Samter is doing right now, I can tell. Thank you, Mike Samter. Thank you to Stu Kovac. Thank you to Tiki Barber and to Jack McCallum, who joined us. The Weedos, the Purple Drinkers. We'll see you tomorrow.
You're in a 5-minute break.